Hello and welcome to Sunflower Philosophy Tarot. My name is Juliana, and today's timeless pick a card reading is a mystery message from your spirit team. So whether you believe in like spirit guides or angels or whatever or not, you can still get something from this message. But my intention is to tap into that higher guidance for you and give you a message from them and basically have it be whatever they want to talk to you about. So I'm leaving it pretty open. Yeah, hopefully you get something from this that is really helpful for you. So I have 4 piles here. We have pile 1 with this blue stone. We have pile 2 with this clear stone, probably clear quartz. Pile 3 with this like dark kind of purpley stone. And pile 4 with this green stone here. So you can take a moment to decide which pile is for you. Just use your intuition. I'll have the timestamps below in the description and in the pinned comment. You can skip right to your pile. And yeah, if you're ready, head right over there and I will see you in your reading. Hi Group 1, welcome to your reading. If you chose this blue stone, then you're in the right place. And we're just gonna get right into messages from your spirit team, and it's just going to be whatever deities, entities, whatever guides you connect with, or if you don't really connect with them, you can still get a message from this, whatever they want to say to you right now. So the way that I actually am structuring this is I chose 1 tarot card. I'm going to use the suit of the cards to give me an idea of what the topic or area is that they want to talk about. But then I'm also, like, for the most of the reading, I'm actually going to use my quote cards and my song cards to get messages, and then I'll get some Hafiz advice cards at the end. Just wanted to mix things up a little bit, and I did a little practice reading for myself before this, and I really liked how it was using the quote cards as my primary source of guidance. So yeah, so let's get into it. So for you, we have the 10 of Intelligence, which in this deck corresponds with the 10 of Swords. And my intention with the suits was that swords would most likely correspond with like the mental realm, your studies, if you are studying something, learning something for a job, training, schooling, anything like that, but also just like in general, like your wisdom, your learning. So for many of you, there may be, you could literally be a student in school, you could be undergoing some kind of training for work, you could be learning a new skill or hobby, or just learning something in general, or you could be very focused on the mental realm in some way. And then having it be the 10 of Swords here, that is very much the end of a cycle. And in fact, it can be, in the original Rider-Waite-Smith deck, it can look like a very sudden or violent or difficult end, but it doesn't have to be, and especially in this deck, it's a little bit less dramatic, I want to say. But for some of you, it could be that you're actually reaching the end of some kind of schooling or training. So you could be graduating, or you could be moving on to the next level of something. You could be finishing something up. You could be considering leaving a mode of study behind. And for some of you, it could have been a very rigorous or difficult path that you maybe have been studying. You might feel like it's taken a lot of mental energy for you to get here. And for some of you, I want to say congratulations. And for some of you, I want to say, you know what, if it has been a difficult path, that it hasn't been in vain. I don't know who that's coming through for, but that's something that wanted to come through just now. So that's what your team wants you to know, is that even if it's been a difficult path, or it's maybe a difficult decision for you to end something to do with your studies or something like that, that it's been worth it in some way. There's something that you've gained from this path that's been important for you, no matter how it's ending, right? And they're proud of you for that. I also want to read from the little booklet, because I think that this booklet usually has a really just simple, good piece of advice associated with each card. So for the 10 of intelligence, we have how we deal with what shows up in our lives. Do we avoid and deny? Do we react in anger? Do we remain conscious and aware? Yeah. So there could be something in here for you also about how you're handling this change, because with this being about the end of some kind of cycle, I do feel like there's some kind of change for you associated with this perhaps path of study or something that you've been learning or something that you want to learn. There's an element of change here. And like I said, for some of you, this might have been a difficult path, and maybe even this ending is a difficult ending, or it's been a difficult decision for you to end something. And it's about how you react and how you respond and how you handle it. It's not about the semantics of the situation itself. So there's something here about that, about being conscious through this process that you will come out the other side just fine. Perhaps even for some of you, so I just got the specific scenario of like if you're graduating from college or something like that, graduating from a program of some kind, and after this you're kind of on your own, right? Like you might not have, for some of you, you might have a direct pathway that you can take. You might know what job you're going into if you're going into a career path or something like that, but some of you might feel like you're about to be left out in the cold, left out in, the unknown. Even if you know where you're going, it might feel a little bit scary, like it's the unknown, right? And this is saying, that transitions like that can feel difficult and scary, but they don't have to. You can get support. There's support available to you, especially if you do believe in spirit guides and a spirit team and you've been wanting to tap into interacting with them more. I do feel like there's something here about them being here to support you through this change or transition, if that's what you're going through. And if you are ending a path of study, they're supporting you in ending that, right? And if you are looking to begin a new path of study or move up to the next level, it's saying like they're supporting you through that level up, right? So there's a lot of support here. I do feel like there might be some concern or worry on your end for some of you, but it's saying there's support here, and I do believe that, like I said, if you do connect with the idea of having a spirit team, they want you to connect with them more through that change that you're going through. So I'm gonna get into the quote cards now. The only situation that I could see being a difficult the only thing I could see being difficult with using these quote cards is that I don't know if I'll be able to fit them all in the frame very well, but we're gonna do our best. And I actually have so many. I'm gonna try not to take too many, but all right. So spirit team for group 1. What do you want to talk about? What do you want them to know? Could be related to this specific topic, but we want to see what comes through. What do you want to say to them? Okay, we've got a few there, and then I have so many of these guys, you don't even know. I have like 200. I have to break up the piles when I use them for other readings. I just like can't shuffle them all at once. Okay, anything else you want to talk about, spirit team, for group 1 when it pertains to anything else? That one wants to come out. Okay, and that one. All right. Ooh, okay. So let's see. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to fit all these in, but so we've got a lot of black cards here. First thing I'm noticing, the first cards that came out are all like ones that I just painted in like matte black ink. Actually, these 3 I'm gonna look at after I look at these black ones. So we've got just blank, pure black ink. We've got black ink, but there's actually a word written in here. I wrote miracle in like, I think it was a pink marker, but you can't really see it. So it's like, ooh, like, maybe there's some kind of hidden treasure, hidden miracle in this experience for you. Whether it's something that's already occurred, like you getting to the end of this path has felt like a miracle, or it's something that's happening for you as a result of this transition or through this transition, because I do feel like there's a transition here for a lot of you. And then we've got like the star in this tooth and like shining. Yeah, so it's like there's like some darkness or something unknown or whatever, and you're moving into the light. You're moving into And for some of you, okay. For some of you, this knowledge that you've been gaining and or looking to pursue could not necessarily be about an external path of study, but could be like, and it could be both. They could both be related to each other, but it could be about like self-knowledge that you're gaining. So it could be that there may be things in your mental realm that are coming to light from the subconscious that might be surprising to you. And if that's the case, if you feel like you've been becoming aware of a lot of mental patterns that you weren't aware of before in yourself, your spirit team is saying like, they're here for you. This is part of the process. It's normal. It's okay. And also that it's okay to not only ask for help from them, but also ask for help from the physical world around you, people in your life, professionals, especially if there's like mental health situations that you are dealing with, mental health professionals, healers in your area, people that that deal with that sort of thing. So there's definitely some messages around that. But let's read the quotes. But at the end, it's only a passing thing, this shadow. Even darkness must pass. Yes. So yeah, if there is some kind of like transition or difficult ending, or like whether it's mental, like really mostly mental, or if it's like in your actual studies, you're graduating, you're leaving something has ended for you, and there's unknown, whether it feels like a scary darkness or just like you just confused, you don't know what's happening next, that shadow is passing. It will pass, but you have to go through it, right? And it's not about what exactly is happening, it's about how you handle it, and you have a choice in that, even if it might not feel that way on the outside. It's like about how you would address your internal mental and physical realm. We also have, he had performed the common mistake that many do when confronted with the idea of the miraculous. He had assumed it meant magical. This is from All the Crooked Saints by Maggie Stiefvater. Oh, and the other one was from Lord of the Rings. Okay. So maybe for some of you, there is also this, you might be overthinking a bit right now about whatever your situation is, about something in your life, to the point where you're like, I just can't see how this can work out. I just can't see how this can be good. I can't see how I can do this. I can't see how, you just don't see how things are going to work out. And there's something in here, first of all, about being open to the miraculous, and also understanding that miraculous doesn't mean that it's like, it doesn't mean magical in the sense that if you had the full awareness of how everything in this world interacts, if you were God essentially, right? And I mean that in like the sense of like the idea of like the God being like the greater sense of the greater perspective that we all come from and have access to, but aren't necessarily aware of at all times, because we're here in our experiences for a reason. Like we're living out our limited perspectives because for a reason. I don't know if if you know. But it's like the idea that if you were constantly aware of that higher perspective of how things fit together, of how everything is connected with everything else, and how everything actually makes sense, and like, the butterfly effect of events and how things play out, then nothing would seem magical. It would all seem logical. But from our standpoint that we have as human beings, we can't logic our way through situations in the same way that we could if we had that perspective, because we don't have that perspective. So it's kind of like you have to let go of the idea that you can mentally make everything fit together and work, and trust that everything is already fitting together and already working. And that means that anything can happen, because when you place limitations on the things outside of you based on your knowledge, that's not the full scope of what actually is possible. It's just what you have experienced and known to be logical. It's like and some of you, you might be academics, you might be really into the very logical, very rational, very like tried and true tested theories and things like that, scientific method, things like that. But especially like for science and stuff like that, it's like you can test things, and that's a very important and valid field and an important way of experiencing the world and learning more about it. But scientific knowledge is always expanding and changing. we're always expanding our perspective. And the way that we used to see things changes because we get new information, more information we didn't have before. And so, yeah, this is reminding you, you don't have to have all the information. You don't. But also, because this is a message from your spirit team, I do feel like they are coming through to say that they do have access to a bit of a higher perspective than you. And so if you do agree to tap into that belief that you do have a spirit team, they are here for you to access that. And you can use that connection with them, the belief in something greater than yourself, to feel more comfortable in the unknown and more comfortable just not knowing things. And also, they will help guide you through the darkness, right? We've got this like star here. It's like they can be a guiding light for you. Speaking of, let's read this. Tomorrow is always fresh with no mistakes in it. Okay, yeah, so for some of you, like, you could be very hard on yourselves. Excuse me. You could be very hard on yourselves. You could feel like whatever your situation is, you might have had at times a pattern of perhaps not seeing yourself as smart enough or good enough in some kind of way. Maybe for some of you, you feel like you've made a lot of mistakes in your life. And actually, it's funny, I was having a conversation with my mom not too long ago and talking about the concept of mistakes and how you don't really make mistakes, right? You have experiences, and if experiences don't work out in the way that you envision them to work out, that doesn't mean that they worked out wrong. You know what I'm saying? So viewing things that happen in your life as mistakes is a perspective, right? It's a choice. You can choose to see your life through a different lens and go easy on yourself. And not just go easy on yourself, it's just like see life as more of an experience where you're just trying things out. Like, you're experimenting, you're curious, you're excited, and you don't need to know exactly how things are going to turn out. And so that when something goes in a certain way that you didn't expect, you don't see it as a problem, right? You see it as like, oh, okay, what's this? And you're ready to adjust yourself to the situation that you find yourself in. And so I feel like this is saying, if you're someone who's been really hard on yourself in the past, your spirit guides are saying that you not only do you not make mistakes, and you have not made mistakes in the past. I mean, you can see it that way, and like that can fully be your perspective if you want, but also the idea that like you can take a new perspective with you into the future. And maybe for some of you, this 10 of Swords is about ending a cycle of being really hard on yourself and dwelling on past mistakes and things like that. And you're ready to let that go. And you're ready to move into a new perspective, into a new future where like you trust yourself more, because like I feel like for a lot of you, you are very intelligent. Intelligence is not being perfect all the time and never getting anything quote unquote wrong and never messing up. It's like so much more than that. Something that's coming to mind is I remember sometimes when I was in school, some of the smartest kids in my class were the ones who raised their hands and asked questions all the time. And they did the best on their tests, and they just had this air about them of just being smart, but they always asked questions. And so there's something to not being afraid to just not know and to ask questions and to get clarity about things and to admit that you don't know something, because like it's the process of learning it, right? That's important. And knowing what questions to ask is a form of intelligence in itself, and you can cultivate that in yourself, like, right? There's also something about not seeing yourself through the lens of quote unquote your mistakes in the past, because you'll always see yourself as someone who makes mistakes from that perspective. When you realize it's just a perspective, it flips your whole world around and you realize you're actually just fine. You've always been just fine. You've always been doing exactly what you need to do. Like, right? Life isn't about being perfect, because perfect isn't even a thing. It doesn't exist because it's just not, like, it's like a useful concept in as much as we can use it to help us understand what our idea of perfect might be and might concern. But it's not actually a fixed, true reality, at least not in my opinion. Again, I'm also someone who's like, I'm a human too, coming from my human perspective. And honestly, a lot of the things I say in these readings are things that I need to hear myself, that I can tap into during these readings. And then in different moments in my life, I'm, in different levels of awareness of myself and of others, and different levels of tapped in to, the greater knowledge. And I don't always, embody all of this advice throughout every moment of my life, but I have access to it when I tap in and sit in it and let it come through and allow myself to believe in it, right? So yeah, I do feel like there is a call here for like a lot of you. This might be a pile for a lot of you where you don't necessarily believe in or don't aren't sure about like the idea of spirit guides or a spirit team. And for some of you, you might be into that, but you might just be in a phase where you've been disconnected and you haven't really been actively trying to communicate or tap into anything higher than yourself. And it's saying that like that can really help you through this situation, whatever you're going through. And then we have this one, which says, I'm as solitary as a pulled tooth, lonely as an unwelcome truth, lost as a minnow out of school, a genius in a crop of fools. Oh, okay. Yeah. So there's something here about like isolating yourself, maybe feeling isolated, could be worrying about being isolated in this next phase of your life or whatever it is. And yeah, since this is from your spirit team, it's like, you're not alone, right? You're not alone. You might be feeling disconnected now. And for some of you, this might be very literal physical disconnection. Like for example, in the scenario where someone's like graduating from a program, you might be leaving behind friends and stuff and going into a new environment and feel like you are alone or you're going to be alone in this new phase. And so there could be something where you're feeling out of place, or you're worried that you will feel out of place. And for some of you, this is more internal. And no matter what your external situation, loneliness is a state of being. It's not or a mental state of being. It's not a like actual physical state that you can be in. It's like you can feel connected to everything and everyone around you and feel not alone at all and be physically alone. And you can feel so alone in a group of people, right? And be surrounded by people and even have friends and family who care about you and still feel alone, right? So it's more to do with your mental internal state. And if you do have spiritual beliefs, whatever they may be, and whatever guides or again, like deities that you connect with, it's like connecting with them can really help you feel less alone, especially throughout a transition where maybe, it's okay to feel alone sometimes, it's okay to not necessarily connect. It's okay to accept that maybe in a new situation you will feel alone for a little while, but you're not alone and you never are. And tapping into your spiritual beliefs can help you reaffirm that feeling. But also, it's like there's something here about like if for some of you insecurity is an issue in terms of like I was saying before, your intelligence, maybe a feeling of imposter syndrome even. It's like the same voice that will tear you down and tell you that you're the worst is also the same voice that will tell you you're the best and you're better than everyone else, right? It's like two extremes, two sides of the same coin, right? So like lost as a minnow out of school, lonely as an unwelcome truth, a genius in a crop of fools. Whatever it is, you're setting yourself apart from everyone and everything, and you're feeling cut off from the people around you, whether you feel like smarter than them all or stupider than them all, right? And there's a more nuanced perspective that you can come at life with that doesn't put you on a pedestal or put you down on like in like the basement, right? like and you don't have to see like life through a black and white lens. The fact that all these cards are like kind of in black and white too, you don't have to see through a black and white lens yourself or other people, right? Or the world. You can approach things from a more gray, nuanced, colorful perspective, from a perspective that's not about win-lose. It's not about like a zero-sum game where either you're the smartest person in the room or you're the dumbest. It's like, no, it's like the idea that everyone brings something to the table. Everyone is here for a reason. You don't have to understand it, and you don't have to even understand your own role to move through the world with the underlying idea that you are valid, that everyone else is valid, and you exist for a reason, and that you don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone, not even yourself. There's something here about that. Yeah, feeling like you got to prove yourself or something like that. It's like you're here for, imposter syndrome. Some of you, I feel like, is a really big thing. And it's like totally fine if you feel this way at times, if you had this perspective at times. Also, like, that's part of the process. And if you're listening to this and it's speaking to you and it feels like I'm talking to you right now, it's a sign from your team that you're ready to move into a new perspective, that that this isn't working for you, right? That this black and white thinking or this harsh judgment of yourself or this feeling like you don't belong is not true. And not only is it not true, but you are ready to move into a more nuanced perspective on this subject or in your life in general. You're ready to embrace the complexities of human existence, and you're ready to see yourself and everyone in a softer light. And actually, that I'm ready to move on to these cards now, because so we've got this gavel thing, and it says, who judges the judge who judges wrong? The sentence too weak, the sentence too strong, the penance too quick, the penance too long. Who judges the judge who judges wrong? It's interesting because this is also from Fairest by Gail Carson Levine, so that book is coming through. Ooh, and that book, it's all about self-judgment, because it's like a Snow White retelling, where the main character, Asa, is in her kingdom seen as very ugly, and but she's got a beautiful singing voice. So people will constantly like react badly to her appearance, but they love her voice. Her voice is amazing, and it's honestly, it's a great story. It's cute if you want to read it yourself. But one thing that she comes to realize towards the end of the story is how much she is her own worst critic, and that yes, other people have been cruel to her and judged her, but she has internalized that and has judged herself. And she, through her internal dialogue, throughout the whole story, she's very hard on herself, and she will take what other people say to heart. And the thing is, it's not to say that those people should be saying what they're saying. It's not that at all, but it's like, you can't control what other people think and say about you, but you can control what you think and say about you, and what you think and say about other people. And so there's something about judgment here, and I think a lot of it is self-judgment. Self-judgment sometimes extends to the people around us as well. Our relationship with ourselves can have a huge impact, and in fact is really indicative of what our relationship with other people will be. It just might manifest in different ways. Just because you judge yourself harshly, you might not judge other people as harshly. There might be an imbalance there. Of course, it can always change from circumstance to circumstance as well. But there's something here about judgment, about not judging yourself. Don't judge yourself. There's no need to judge yourself. It's a mental pattern, it's a habit, and maybe this is something that's coming to an end for you. It's either coming to an end for you or it needs to come to an end, and that's what your spirit team is saying, is that there's no judgment here. Also, I think they're saying on a higher level as well that there's no judgment, like, from them. So if you imagine that you have a spirit team, and maybe you do... Ooh. You know what? I'm just gonna leave that in. Pardon me. I just sneezed. Anyway, your spirit team is saying that there's no judgment for them. So you might imagine them being harsh on you or whatever, but that's just your own inner voice that's saying that, that's judging you in any way. Once you can disconnect from that judgment, you can be very objective about yourself without being hard on yourself. Like, you can say from a place of non-judgment, oh yeah, I can be a little hard on myself or other people sometimes, and be fine be neutral about it and be like, okay, I acknowledge that, and you know what, I'll do some things to work towards not doing that anymore, without being like, oh man, I suck, I'm so hard on myself all the time and other people, and I'm the worst, and I'm so bad at. And it's like, it's okay to do that. It's okay to be judgmental of yourself. It's all that's okay, but it's like, the point is, you can get stuck in the trap of also like wanting to move out of this place of judgment and then also judging yourself for judging. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a vicious loop. I think radical self-acceptance is really important here. Just being like, you know what, everything's fine. The worst parts of me are fine. Like, the parts of me that I hate are fine. The fact that I hate parts of me, fine. And then you can begin to move into a more positive outlook where you don't see yourself through this lens of like having made mistakes, of being terrible, of being dumb, of being whatever. Like, none of anything that doesn't come from a loving place in your head is not true, basically. Just, yeah. And for some of you, this might be more extreme than for others, Like I said, some of you might just be dealing with like a little bit of minor imposter syndrome, and you're in a new situation and that's why. And for some of you, this might have been a really big pattern that you're overcoming. And I do think you are overcoming it and you're ready to overcome it, to which I say congratulations. And I did say at the beginning, your spirit team is proud of you. And I think that regardless of whether you actually are completing a course of study, literally, physically in the world, or you're bringing an end to these mental patterns in your life, and you've gotten to the place where you can recognize them and you know that they need to change, it's like, that's a huge deal, and they're really proud of you. And I think you're doing great work. So we have this one. We have, once the mind has seen through all fear and all hope, it finds peace within itself in a state of awareness beyond thought, from The Wisdom of Insecurity by Alan Watts. This could be a helpful book. And yeah, I think that's kind of going back to what I said about learning to not see things from like black and white, good or bad, like win or lose, and just letting things and yourself be as they are in the moment, full acceptance of the moment, full presence of just being with yourself, and just assuming that everything is just exactly as it should be, and from that state, being able to then make decisions and do the things that you want to do without coming at it from a lens of like trying to prove yourself, feeling like you're wrong, feeling like you're bad, feeling like you're not doing things right, or vice versa. Like, it's not as much about the outcome, it's about the process. And then we have this card, which says, you are a shield and spear to all the things you love. I'm glad to be among them. And this is from The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee. And this book actually deals a bit with imposter syndrome, in the sense of like, or like someone who's trying to take up space in the world and claim their space in the world. The main character is a woman. I mean, she's like a teenage girl, but like, she's wanting to be a doctor, but she's not really accepted in like to be a doctoral student because she's a woman. And at the time, this was like, I don't know, the 1800s, 1700s, I think it's like the 1700s. That was not the thing that women did. Like, they were not given formal educations to be doctors. So she has moments where she has to remind herself that she's allowed to take up space in the world and that she's allowed to exist and be her, and she doesn't have to prove herself just because other people think that she does. And so I think that's important for you. And then this actual quote here, like literally, you are a shield and spear to all the things you love. I'm glad to be among them. I think maybe this is a message for you about like, maybe you are really that for a lot of people. Maybe you've been really protective over, people in your life, and people see you as powerful, as strong, as loving, and are happy to be in your life and also believe in you to, yeah. And I don't know how that fits in with all the messages that have come through this far, but I do feel like there are a lot of people who are really grateful to have you in their life, and maybe you discount that. Maybe you don't think that people appreciate you, or maybe you don't see yourself as worthy of being appreciated. But I do feel that you are, and there are people who do really see how much you care for and appreciate other people. And you're really good at what you do. And for those of you who like maybe part of your course of study or part of what you do for your career involves taking care of people, you know, they see that you're very good at it. And that, for some of you, if there's like day-to-day mistakes or day-to-day situations where maybe you can't help people like you want to. Like I'm getting the specific example of like if someone's like a nurse and like maybe there are times when patients, you know, like you can't keep them from their pain, whether it's like their physical ailment won't allow it, the limitations of medicine won't allow it, or even bureaucracy gets in the way of you caring for patients and giving them exactly what they need. It's like, it's not about the times when you can't spare someone from pain, or when maybe even someone passes on and like you feel like you wish you could have done more but you couldn't. It's like not about those little quote unquote failures, because it's like in the bigger scheme of things, you know, from a higher perspective, perhaps that was how things were meant to play out if you accept that and believe in that. But even regardless of that, it's like, it's more about, it's not about you, you know, when things happen to the people that you're caring for or whatever, it's not about you. Even if this is just people in your life, even if you just feel a deep sense of responsibility towards the people in your life in general, even if that's not your job, it's not all on you. There's so much more at play here than just you. And yet also your intention, your skill, your knowledge is still valuable. It's important. It's not about the outcome, but it's about what you bring to the situation. And you are bringing so much already. You just need to open yourself up to seeing it and let yourself off the hook for things that are just not within your control. And I say this as someone who has taken responsibility for other people in my life in a way where it might not have been physically, but more emotionally, and felt like I couldn't do enough for people. And it's not an easy lesson to always learn, you know, because it's not about shutting yourself off from caring, but it's also about allowing life to happen and realize that you're not, like, you are God, but you're not God, you know what I'm saying? And maybe something about tapping into your spirit team, again, if you resonate with that, is like that will help you see and help you better understand from a higher perspective what is within your control, quote unquote, and what is not, and allow yourself to just be and allow people to just be and acknowledge that you are inherently valuable and that you've always been giving that value, right? No matter what has happened, you know, you have had a great impact on people, and yeah, and you can, and you will continue to. You know, if you're stepping into a new phase of your life and you're not sure if you'll be able to live up to what is going to be expected of you, take all the things that I said and put them into the future. And it's like, move forward with the idea that you're always doing the best that you can, and it's about the process and the experience. It's not always about the outcome, and you can always choose to see things from that higher perspective. Okay, wow, yeah. I almost was like, all right, that's it. But I remembered I did want to get some song cards and then some Hafiz cards. This is longer than I thought it would be. That's fine. That's fine. Your spirit team. All right, spirit team. Do you have any song cards that you want to see if I move this? No, we do not have enough space for all of these. Any song cards that, okay. Any other song cards for L1, group 1? Anything else? Anything else? Okay, we'll take that. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna actually, I think these are the two like most encouraging statements, so I'm going to leave those visible for you. But yeah, we've got Warrior by someone, Kimbra. My hands are tied, but my eyes are open. This modern denial has me broken. Nothing mystical, no hullabaloo, just chemicals and no one looking down on you. What am I thinking? Oh, if you're so sure it's rational. When the world's shrinking, but that don't make it logical. What am I thinking? If you say I'm just an animal, I feel like I'm thinking you can't explain away the way I feel. So sometimes I don't actually know exactly what this song is like meant to be about, but I take it, there's an element of it where I feel like it's like it's a bit of a commentary on like rationality, quote unquote, where like people are like, oh, like you don't be emotional, you got to be rational, whatever, like discounting like things that are more intuition based, more emotional, more mystical, more spiritual, for the just cold hard facts and logic and stuff like that, that completely misses the layers to existence that are not just material and physical, right? And discounts emotion as like wrong, invalid, when it's not. It's information, it's how you use it, it's what you do with it that makes the difference, right? It's not having emotion, because it's not, we're human, we're made to, that's how we're made. Like, it's not suppressing the emotion. It's also like everyone experiences it differently. It's like how you experience the world is important, so yeah. So this can relate to your life in so many different ways. One thing is, like I said, if you are someone who like maybe is on the fence about like tapping into spirituality and connecting with like spirit guides or something like that, but you actually feel drawn to it and you like wanna try that out, then I mean, this is encouraging you to do so, and to not listen to anyone who's like, oh, that's irrational, that doesn't make any sense, like that's stupid, that's dumb, whatever. It's like they just have a different experience than you, and that's on them if they want to discount your experience, but you don't need to discount your experience, right? And then we also have Cerise. Oh yeah, also I just want to say with warrior too, like there's something about you being a very strong like warrior person, kind of like this gladiator sort of thing here, like you. And if you are someone who you need to have your strength to fight for people, or like really like either literally physically, or like in your world you want to support the people around you, you need to be supported too, right? And a great way to get support is to tap into your spirituality and your spiritual side, because then you feel constantly connected and supported by the universe, and you know how to develop that part of you that can support yourself, and then in turn also support other people. But you got to do it for yourself first, right? And oh yeah, like a spiritual practice really helps, especially if you're in a field where there's like high intensity, high emotion, high stakes, whatever. It's like whatever works for you. But if you are someone who feels like that calls to you, and you haven't been maybe engaging with that as much, or you've been wanting to, but you haven't really like, because I listened to tarot readings for years without really like diving super into the more spiritual aspects, and I'm still learning myself what that all means to me. And it's like, it's your journey, no one else can tell you whether they are in this sort of into this sort of thing or they're not. No one can tell you what your experience is. You got to get in there and experience it for yourself. And so whatever you're being drawn towards and whatever you're called to, trust that. And you don't have to dive in, you can use caution and stuff like that, but like trust that you're drawn to things for a reason, and that you've got something to learn from that. Yeah, also some of these lyrics here, you want to change the world, but your girls will be seen and not be heard. So like the intuitive, the more feminine arts and stuff like that have been really suppressed in our society and like discarded, and that's just like it's rhetoric perpetuated by patriarchy, by popular society. That doesn't make it true, right? And then we have, they tell you trust your head, be like men, but never feel like you're good enough. They want to take our light, make us fight, but never cry for the ones you love. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, being too in your head and not enough in your heart and your emotions and your feelings and your body and your spiritual intuition. Like, the mind is a tool that you can use, but you don't want it to use you. And for a lot of us out here, our minds are using us a lot. You know what I'm saying? It's just the mental patterns we get stuck in, the limitations we place on ourselves. It's like the mind is here to help you plan, help you implement. Like you listen to your heart first. Your heart tells you what you want. Your emotions, your heart, whatever, they tell you what you want. If you're missing something, if something's, not quite right in your body and whatever, like your feelings, your intuition, it tells you what to move towards. And your mind helps you plan how to get there, helps you make decisions in the moment. But it's not meant to control your whole life. It's not meant to keep you small. It's not meant to keep you in a state of limitation or lack, right? So it's not about putting the head over the heart. It's about helping them work together. Wow. I feel like we just finally got to the summary of whatever this all has been about for you. And we also have Cerise, and this is by Ghost, and it says, I can feel the thunder that's breaking in your heart. I can see through the scars inside you. Yeah, so maybe for some of you, this could be about you feeling like you've got a lot going on inside you that other people don't see, and from your spirit team, they're saying we see you, we see what's going on inside you, it's all okay. It's all just fine. You're not broken, there's nothing wrong with you, you're just, it's just, some thoughts in your head that happen. And mindfulness can really help you with self-judgment. If you're judging the thoughts in your head, if you're judging the cycles that you've been through, if you're judging your experience of the world, practicing non-judgment, practicing meditation, practicing watching your thoughts. I know some people hate to hear it. I get it. I've been there, been that person. It's just so funny because I do feel like I'm someone who I've simultaneously learned to move through a lot of this stuff myself and accept myself and implement practices in my life that are helpful to me. But it was a struggle. I had to drag myself kicking and screaming through a lot of it. And I feel like it's easy to come at these things from a space of not believing it or not wanting to believe it or being mistrustful of it, and seeing other people who have embraced embraced mindfulness, embraced meditation, embraced yoga, embraced all of the things, or even just embraced going to therapy or doing this or doing that, seeing that with suspicion or just being okay, those people can, but I could never, or I'm not one of those people or whatever, putting black and white thinking, putting barriers around what you're capable of and what's open to you. I've been that person. And then I also got to the point where I was you know what? None of those limitations I put on myself, none of those aspersions I cast on other people matter as much as me not feeling shitty all the time, right? That's actually, and you don't have to get to all the way to that point to start doing good things for yourself that actually help you. And like I said, all the things that I've named are just different methods of implementing this self-care, of gesturing towards a lifestyle where you're not ruled by your mind in a way that's painful to you, you know what I mean? It's moving in that direction. It doesn't mean that you have to do any of those specific things, but it's if there's things that you're shutting yourself down to because you have limiting judgments about them, it's time to let those go, baby. And in fact, I think a lot of you are, like I said, your spirit team's very proud of you, but a lot of you just might need that final push to just be hey, you know what? You want to try some yoga? Try some yoga. You decide you don't like it, but you want to try some I don't know, Reiki energy healing? Try that. You want to go to a therapist? Do that. You want to try some anti-anxiety medication, whatever? Do that. Try things. And none of the things that I'm saying here are specific advice for you. I just want to say that I'm not a medical professional. I have my own experience with helping myself through my own experiences, and that's all I can use, and whatever comes through from whatever I'm channeling right now, I don't know, it's what's coming through. But I'm not telling you to do any specific thing, but I'm saying that some of you have placed limitations on what is for you and what is not for you, and this is asking you if you still feel like those limitations are blocking you from exploring feeling better in your body. This is saying you don't have to jump in all at once, but it's okay to step outside of your comfort zone, outside of your boundaries. Stepping outside of your comfort zone to help yourself feel better will feel better. It will. It might be scary at first, but yeah, it's there's support for you here, whether that's on the physical realm or the spiritual realm, but it's really both, right? You can do things physically to support yourself, and you can call on the support of your spirit team, of spirit guides, of angels, of whatever you've got. It's all here for you, right? Whatever you're going through, whether it's just like a little physical transition in the world, or if it's like a big mental shakeup that you're dealing with some internal turmoil. Yeah. Okay. Finally, we're gonna get to some Hafiz cards, and then I'm gonna let you guys go. This is fun. I am glad that I opened up to tarot as something. Ooh, yeah, okay. That's something that I do. I'm just gonna see if there's one more card that wants to come out. Yeah, okay. We'll leave it at that. Oh, on the bottom though, ask for help. 23. Yeah. Ask for help. Your spirit team is like, we are here. We're here. You can ask us to help you. Oh my God. And for those of you who don't feel comfortable asking like God or spirit or angels or the fuck else you believe in or don't believe in, there's help available for you in your life, in your physical realm that you are not asking for, or maybe you know, maybe you have. Maybe if you have, then congratulations. If you feel like you've been avoiding asking for help, but you know there's help available to you, get on that. Get on that, all right? Okay, so we have number 10, move forward. So 10, the 10 of swords. So yes, the end of a cycle. You are at some kind of end of a cycle. You are, whether you have already processed a lot of the stuff that we've talked about and you're really moving out of that, and you're aware of that, or you're getting to the point where you're ready to, and maybe things are a little bit difficult still, you are moving forward, and you're ready to move forward. So we have 10, move forward. Tell me, dear, when are you not a river, ever moving forward, needing to empty into the sky, into God? The swirls and eddies of the mind, are easy to get caught up in, and soon our whole life can feel stuck. Loosen your rigid thoughts. Let go of the need to be right, or even to be understood. It's like everything we just talked about. God understands you better than you understand yourself. You are not alone, like higher perspective and all that, like I said. Let that be enough for now. Let that be enough for now, and move forward into that peace like a river. Like, I hope that you can also see all the connections with what we already talked about with this, because that's like fits perfectly. Oh, it's perfect. Oh, wait, actually, also I'm gonna move forward over here because it's the 10. We have a 9 with 18. 1 and 8 is 9, which is like progressing to the end of the cycle. It's like right before you like reach that end point. And then we have an 8 here, so I think that's funny. Let's read play next. So 18 with play. Such nutrients in play, maybe more than even in prayer. When we play, we forget who we think we are, and all manner of possibility rushes in. Now is the time to shake off the shackles of heavy responsibility. Oh my gosh, I do feel like a lot of you have taken on a lot of responsibility in your life for maybe other people or things that you just don't need to be responsible for anymore. Go outside and search the skies for clouds shaped like friends. Make a blanket fort in the middle of your living room. Color outside the lines. Skip down the aisles of the grocery store. Rekindle your relationship with the inner child who knows the secret to joy is play. Yes, okay, so real quick, like I'm not a mental health professional, but I did study briefly to become an art therapist. I did not finish the degree. I would love to, but art is something that for me has been very healing and such. But it became something where I like became good enough at it that like I used it to get in the flow to help take me out of my head when I was in a really dark place when I was younger. Then I got better at it, and then it became something where I was like, oh no, like people expect things of me now. So when I draw, I have to do it well, and it has to come out in a certain way, and I have to like, and I got really too in my head about my art, and then it was no longer playful for me. It was no longer something that took me out of my head. And then I studied art therapy briefly, and that was all about like expression of self, not about being a good artist, quote unquote. It was about expressing yourself using different mediums and what those different mediums bring out in you and what can you create. And it really helped me loosen up and just tap into the part of me that just wanted to express. Also making these quote cards really did that for me, where I would just like write a quote down, and then sometimes I would like end up creating something that was directly referential to the quote on the back, but sometimes I would just do whatever I wanted to do. Like I said, some of these cards, I just like painted the black ink across the card because it was so satisfying to do it, and I really enjoyed it. And sometimes I just did swirls and stuff like that, using different paints and different markers and whatnot. And it was really fun. It was just playtime for me, and that was so healing. And it got me in the flow. And it's like, yeah, so some of you need to get out of the mindset of like, everything I do has to have a certain outcome. And a good way to do that is to just draw or play, as in like whatever play is for you. Because sometimes we can play, like, for example, like do things that other people don't think. Other people would say, oh, that's just play. It's not really that productive. But you do it with a mindset of like, you've got to get a certain goal. So like I'm thinking right now, the example of like video games is coming to me, where it's like, if you're playing a video game, a lot of times your objective is to beat the game. So like each level, like you're trying to beat a boss, you're trying to do this or whatever. And you can come at that from a mindset where you put pressure on yourself to get a certain outcome, where you get upset with yourself if you make mistakes and such. And it doesn't necessarily feel as playful as if you are just really enjoying the story, and you're like, it's okay to like obviously like get frustrated along the way when you encounter things that are difficult, but at the same time not being hard on yourself to the point where it feels like more like a job or a chore, or puts pressure on you or makes you feel worse about yourself. It's like you're playing, it's not about the outcome, it's about the process. It's about being in the moment with the thing that you're doing and really truly just enjoying it, like you did when you were a kid. And you just like played games and stuff with like dolls. Like, yeah. And so you can do that, and with so many, you can like fucking take out some dolls and play with them like you did when you were a child, But however you can introduce more play into your life, do it. Okay, and then we have dance, which is similar to play. Dear ones, anoint this earth with dance. Dance the rhythm of your joy. Dance the dirge of your pain. Dance your hopes and fears with wild abandon. Move your body in ecstasy of release, knowing that the greater holds you in the womb of its love, and that your very cells dance with the pulse of that embrace. Forget all else and dance yourself free. Yeah, so there's two things here. One, literally dancing, just like with play, can help free you up, free your mind, whatever. And play, like, you can express your pain and joy through dance and play. All of that. Art, whatever. It doesn't all have to be like joyful, whatever. It can turn into that once you release any pain or whatever, if you want. But like, yeah, dance, maybe music is significant, and can help you loosen up a little bit. Also, dance makes me think of like the dance of life, right? So dancing with life, rather than like feeling like you're fighting with life. You're dancing with it. So sometimes, spirit, sometimes God, sometimes life leads and you follow, right? And so let it take you where it's going to take you. And when you need to take the reins, you'll know intuitively when it's time to make a decision, make a move, make an action, but just allow the dance to happen. And like I said, if you need help, ask for it. It's here for you in whatever form you want to take it in, okay? Even if you don't believe in something, if you're like at the end of your rope, like, just don't be afraid to have that moment where you're just like, whoever's listening, please help, and then just see what comes into your life, see how things go, and open yourself up to it just for that moment. You might be surprised. Okay, so we're gonna end that there. Hope this was helpful for you. Your spirit team is very proud of you, and also really wants you to know that they're there for you, and whatever you're dealing with, whether it is a little bit heavier or whether you're just a little bit nervous about a change in your life, they're here with you. You're doing great, sweetie, and you're gonna be okay. And yeah, so that's all. Please like, comment, subscribe if you'd like to do that. And if you're interested, my mom and I do have a website, sunflowerphilosophy.com. We offer virtual or in-person tarot services, hypnosis, and human design. My mom does human design. So we have that on our website, and you can check out the link in the description. And otherwise, that's all I have for you. So have a wonderful day, and I love you. And yeah, that's it. Bye. Hi, Group 2. Welcome to Sunflower Philosophy. This is Juliana. This reading today is a message from your spirit team. It's a mystery message, so we don't know what it's about. So if you picked this clear, I think it's clear quartz, then you're in the right place. And let's get into it. So this is meant to be like whatever like spiritual entities that you connect with, like messages from them. So it could be like spirit guides or angels or whatever. And you also don't have to like connect with any of those entities or even believe in that to get something out of this. So it's just kind of like whatever energies you're calling on or whatever you believe in, like that's what we're calling on for this reading. And it's meant to be obviously a message that's from a place of unconditional love and like higher perspective. And we're just gonna see like what they want to talk about. So I got this tarot card to sort of give us the topic that we're looking at. I kind of loosely gave each of the suits of the deck a topic, so that could give me a jumping off point, but we're really going to let it go wherever it wants to go. And then I have my quote cards and song cards I'm going to actually use for most of the reading, and then I have some advice cards as well. So to start, we have your tarot card, which is the Eight of Wisdom, which in this deck represents the Eight of Cups. And I was intending that the Cups suit would be like around love and relationships, so that could be the focus for this. Like I said, we'll let whatever wants to come through come out, but yeah, let's start from that perspective. So we have the Eight of Cups. So the Eight of Cups is typically, so the Eight of Cups can be about like walking away from things. It can be about walking away from old emotional like attachments into like the new. And I have some thoughts about this card itself. I want to just first read what's in the booklet for this card, because I do think this booklet has just nice, succinct advice in it, so that might help resonate for some of you. So Eight of Wisdom in the booklet says, finding a way out of past pain by having faith that something better is waiting for you. Yeah, so this could be, whether in the realm of relationships or just in general, for a lot of you that you are walking away from or are in the process of wanting to walk away from some past pain, and letting go of that past pain is opening up new opportunities for you. And so this can be something that is represented by like physical changes, in the sense of like, if maybe there have been people literally that you've walked away from in your life, relationships that you've walked away from recently. But it could also just be about letting go of old ways of connecting with people and old pain that you might have around relationships, which is more of an internal process. And like both of those can be true at the same time as well. But something that also drew my eye in this Eight of Swords is that this person is very much like protecting themselves with a shield here. And I feel like they're kind of protecting themselves, like this light is shining down and they're hiding under this shield. So I do wonder if for some of you, there's a need to, or you have been letting go of like overprotectiveness almost of yourself that was due to maybe some past pain or heartbreak or something in that realm. And maybe there's been some like overprotection here where you have built up some barriers around yourself to keep yourself safe. And that has protected you, but then it also has been maybe preventing you from seeking new opportunities and from allowing new potentials to come in, right? Like it protects you to a certain extent, but then at after a certain amount of time, you no longer need as much protection, and it starts to sort of hurt you, because if you want to truly connect deeply with others, you're going to have to be able to be vulnerable and to be able to move with certain pain and work through certain past pains so that you don't bring them into your new situations where they don't need to exist. So if that seems like something that is relevant to you, then let's get some more information and see what your spiritual team wants to say about all of that. Because I definitely feel like there's more to be revealed here about this topic. So just like with group 1, it took a little bit for things to really get rolling, and I feel like there were a lot of messages that came out that were even more it took a bit to get to kind of like the core of what we were really talking about. And so that might be the same for this group as well. So yeah, like I said, I'm using my quote cards because sometimes it's just fun to use those to do a reading with. Hopefully I'll be able to fit them all in here. All right, so spirit team for group 2, what do you want to talk about today? What? That's too many. I'll do one more shuffle on this deck, and then I'll move to the other quote deck. All right, let's move to the other quote deck. What do you want to talk about with group 2 today? What do you want to talk about with group 2 today? Spirit team, angels, whatever, and whoever you are. Okay. Interesting. All right. Yeah, and then just one more shuffle there. Okay. Oop, bumped my mic. Hopefully that wasn't a problem for you guys. All right. Let's work with what we've got so far. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a squish to fit everything in here, but we're going to do our best. All right. So let's start. Well, okay. A couple things I want to point out before we get to the actual quotes on the back. So we have some green, like leafy looking stuff here. I take that as a sign of growth. So there's definitely some emotional growth happening here. That's for sure. And I definitely think emotional because we do have the cups, and I do feel like this is about love and relationships in some way, and that those can really be huge catalysts for emotional growth. We also have this like kind of broken glass almost looking thing here, so that could be a reference to, for some of you, like maybe brokenheartedness or something that you've been mending within yourself as well. And we have this sort of mask card, and I think all the quotes on the back will clarify these more, but just the mask is standing out to me as like a shield that we use. Like when we put a mask on around people, we use it to protect ourselves, but then we also can prevent people from connecting deeply with us because we don't let them see who we truly are. And when we don't feel seen by other people, we don't feel connected often. And so that is something that could be really significant for you, especially with this 8 of Cups here. So let's start by getting, by flipping over this quote. So we have, things are as they are. Looking out into the universe at night, we make no comparisons between right and wrong stars, nor between well and badly arranged constellations. Okay. Yeah, so this is like, and it's a quote from Alan Watts. So this is already giving me the idea of like, perhaps there's been some protection, self-protection, based on a desire to not be judged as wrong by other people, almost like feeling like maybe that other people will see all of you and feel like there's something wrong with you. Maybe you've felt rejection in the past because of who you are, and there are parts of you that you've been really sensitive about because they've been sort of misunderstood by other people. And so this spirit team is reminding you that there is no such thing as like being wrong or being broken at your core. Like, that's impossible. You exist, and so you are valid, and like your existence is important, and like you exist for a reason, right? Like there's nothing like at your core that is actually deeply wrong with you. And that kind of mindset of like of living right or living wrong is just a construct that we made up. It's a human construct. Another thing, this is like very specific, but that was just came to mind for me, is like, especially if this is like to do with interpersonal relationships, if you are someone who is looking to open up more to deeper relationships, whether romantically or platonically or like in any sense, not only might you have experienced judgment of yourself, and you might take that on from other people, not only might you have found the need to protect yourself from other people's judgments of right and wrong, you might have a tendency to now don't we all do this sometimes, all right? I'm not like being like judgy of you either here, but you might have a tendency to judge other people harshly, and therefore like see every like little like trait in another person as like a threat, and close up once someone maybe like makes one quote unquote wrong move or wrong step. You know what I'm saying? Just stick with me here, okay? If this feels like you, if you're feeling a little attacked right now, we all do this. And I do feel that things I've seen in like the larger, especially like dating culture kind of stuff, it's not to say that there's not actually, situations out there, people out there who can be dangerous, or experiences that people have that involve like being in relationships that are abusive or dangerous or toxic. Like there's of course things like that really do happen. And if those are experiences that you've had, of course, it can take some time to really work through that and open yourself up to trusting again. And that's something that, you can get help to work through with a professional, and you can get support in your life for, and that's, please do that if that's something that you need to do. But there can be also just a general error in like, especially like it seems like dating culture, which I'm not really super involved in, like I don't really do that, but like I see a lot of like advice out there or videos out there like warning people about things like red flags and like signs that this person is a narcissist, this and that and whatnot. And while, like I said, things do happen, and I understand that people have a lot of different experiences with that kind of thing that are really, really true and valid, the overall energy of this sort of environment creates a lot of paranoia and fear, where which can make it feel impossible to truly open up to anyone or trust anyone, right? And that can cause us to make snap judgments about people, and cause our nervous systems, if we don't know how to regulate, if we don't have a practice around regulating our nervous system, breathing, like taking a step back, understanding our emotions and ourselves, if we don't know how to go within ourselves, we can really take every little thing that another person says or does as a threat, when it may not actually be that. And that can create a lot of conflict. That's what creates a lot of conflict in relationships, where conflict is not necessarily inherently negative. And if you can move through conflict and work through it and be honest about your feelings and emotions and things like that, and have another person be receptive to that and work with each other and open up to each other enough to allow that, then that can be really productive and actually help you connect more deeply with another person. But a lot of us don't trust ourselves or other people to get to that level, right? And so there could be some protectiveness because of past experiences where maybe like you and or your partners weren't able to really do that and work through conflict and things like that. And some of that can be exacerbated by maybe some of the culture around, right? And so I feel like this quote here is talking about loosening up a little bit in terms of snap judgments about people, because it's one thing to protect yourself by acknowledging things that you just like will or won't stand for, that you do and do not like, just like your gut feeling about things, versus putting mental stigmas on things, on behaviors, on like, if someone likes this kind of, if someone's favorite book is this, then they are, a sociopath or something like that. Like, which is like, sounds absurd, but it's like real stuff I've seen out there, right? Like that's sort of ridiculous. Because it's like, it's painting like so many like people with a broad brush, where like people like what they like for many different internal nuanced reasons, and you can get to know them and understand them, and understand that they have a unique relationship with things that they like, for example, right? It doesn't necessarily, just because someone likes a certain book or whatever that you associate with something, doesn't mean that they associate that book or thing with the things that you associate it with. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope that makes sense. So it's like, yeah, there's something about like, and this could be, you know, something that you also fear for yourself, as well as being judged by other people by like your likes and dislikes, things that you love. I honestly think a lot of people in this pile like are quite sensitive, and that is not a bad thing. Most human beings are in some way or another. It's just like, it's actually a good thing. We can just put on a hard shell and close up when we don't know how to properly address and express our sensitivity, you know, and accept our emotions and accept that we are feeling creatures that have emotions, and that's not a bad thing. And that while we might have seen many people and even at times ourselves have lashed out in moments of emotion and done things that we didn't like, that we regret, that we wish we hadn't, that doesn't mean that emotion is inherently bad or untrustworthy. Oh, yes. Okay. Something else with the Eight of Cups. So this Eight of Cups is upright, but I actually had been thinking recently about like an Eight of Cups in reverse that I'd gotten in a reading recently for myself. And I understood recently, like I had this epiphany that for me, and this is probably something that a lot of people experience, whether you consciously realize it or not, I had a lot of anxiety for a long time, and I realized that I had formed a lot of anxiety around the experience of having emotions themselves. So when I would feel myself having a strong emotion, no matter what it was, it would turn into anxiety because the strength of the emotion would scare me. And this had to do with like deep internal emotional trauma that I had experienced when I was younger, of feeling like I was being controlled by my emotions and not feeling like I had control over them, and feeling like they were just like building up and I didn't know how to express them. And like that can get so intense to the point where you feel like you're gonna die, basically, which can come out as like a panic attack. It can come out as like suicidal ideation and all those kinds of things. And so when you reach that point, it becomes a trauma in and of itself, and it becomes something that you don't know how to process, and so you distrust any experience of emotion that you have, and you might not even be consciously aware of it, but your body will have this response of having a heightened like anxiety response to having any kind of feeling, even if it's joy or excitement, like for real. And I realized that for me, the era of running away from my emotions, essentially, even subconsciously, even just my body like reacting in that way, is coming to a close. And it's time for me to really fully, and I've been working towards it for a while, but it's like, you know, the culmination of that is that I'm really fully stepping into an era of my life where I'm able to embrace my emotions, and therefore I am open to more experiences that I wouldn't have been open to in the past, because there are experiences that would have been too emotionally volatile for me, even in a positive way, that would have turned into anxiety, where I might still experience that from time to time, but I know now I'm aware of it, can address it, and know how to handle it. And so I feel like that is something that your spiritual team is asking you to look at in yourself, is how you respond to your own emotional body. And I have a feeling, since we're dealing with cups here, that this is something that is important for you in terms of progressing your relationships and love life, whatever that looks like for you. So let's look at our next card. Let's look at this one next. So we have, you still have a lot of time to make yourself be what you want. There's still lots of good in the world. With this little sprout here. Yeah, so I feel like maybe this part of your journey is about looking for the good in the world instead of looking for the bad. So remember what I said about potentially, like, especially if you're steeped in like the dating culture of our current time, there's a lot of fear and paranoia there, and a lot of looking for the bad in people, looking for the bad, emphasizing the bad to protect ourselves. And that's totally fine and understandable. Like I said, if you've been through some stuff you really want to work through with a professional, do that, please. and use your own discernment, of course, when taking any advice, whether mine or someone else's. But if it's resonating with you, it may be time to walk away from old patterns of seeing the bad and start looking for and acknowledging the good. That doesn't mean, it's like seeing the good and learning to focus more on the positive in life doesn't mean, it can feel at first like it's opening you up to be vulnerable, and like the part of your brain that wants to protect you says, no, we have to look for the threats, right? But remember, for the majority, well, for a lot of us, there's, obviously there's some of us, we're all living in different circumstances. And so some of us are living in circumstances where we've, maybe been in a lot of physical danger, okay? But this is really for those of us who are either no longer living in a space of physical danger like every single day, or just haven't been and have still have that fear response like up and running constantly. That's that anxiety response. It's like you're hardwired, your body and your brain are hardwired to look for threats to protect you, because like we used to be dealing with like saber-toothed tigers and stuff like attacking us, and like, and when we're living in a world where that's not as common, where we, even if we used to live in a situation where we were under threat more often and we're not now, we have to train ourselves to not have that response to every little thing, right? Because your fear response will not let you down when in the moment you need to protect yourself, you need to run, you need to fight, whatever. Like, it'll be there. You're wired for that. But when it comes to things like interpersonal relationships, when it comes to things like emotional confrontation, where, when it comes, interpersonal relationships where like there's not like violence happening. Like, I cannot stress enough, I'm not talking about like that kind of situation. I'm talking about like regular everyday relationships that you have where it's, people who love each other deeply can still have conflict, can still feel unsafe around each other, can still be triggered by things. It's like in those situations, we can train our nervous systems to not react like we're being attacked by like a bear. You know what I'm saying? And part of that process, aside from the physiological aspect of like learning to regulate ourselves, is also like training our brains to recognize more often and acknowledge more often the good that we see in other people and ourselves and around us in the world. And reaffirm that no matter what else we've seen that we haven't liked, that hasn't been good, there are things that are good, and to emphasize those things to ourselves, because the negative emphasis is what we're more commonly attuned to, but we can move the momentum in the opposite direction, and that does change the experiences that you have with yourself, with others, and with life in general. And this is saying too, there's no rush. This is the kind of thing, it can take time, but you still have plenty of time. And so that's another thing too, for those of you, if this is about relationships and love life, some of you might feel like you're falling behind if, say, you've been single for a while and you really want a relationship, or you feel pressured because people around you are putting pressure on you. This is saying like timelines that people have for their lives are things that we make up, right? It's made up. It doesn't matter who's saying it to you, if it's your parents, whatever, like it's made up. If you want a loving relationship in your life, you can have that, but you don't have to have it in a certain time frame. You don't have to put pressure on yourself. You can take your time and focus on the things that you need to let go of and healing that past pain, and it'll fall into place for you, basically. And your spirit team really wants to hammer home for you, for whatever your situation is, no matter what your relationship status is or like whatever. I don't know if it makes a difference. It's like if you're feeling like you're running out of time or you're falling behind in some area, you're not. You still have so much time to be the person that you want to be in the situation that you want to be in, and it starts here and now with focusing on yourself and day by day learning to trust again. Trust yourself, trust the world, trust the universe, trust the good that you see around you, and recognize that the negativity bias is just that. It's a bias. if you wanted to choose, you can have a positivity bias. Like, what's the difference as long as it makes you happy, right? So, yeah. Let's get to this quote now. It says, "It's not going to be what you imagined, but it'll be just as good." And this is from Opal by Maggie Stiefvater. Yeah, so this is definitely important too, especially if this is about like love and relationships, like bringing in new romantic relationships, or even strengthening a current one, bringing in new friendships or strengthening current ones, starting over in this area, leaving behind like old patterns. It's like opening up to the possibilities of what will be without putting strict like borders around what it can look like, right? Like, you can imagine and visualize and have a great time with your daydreams and such, but when life brings things to you that don't look exactly like your daydreams, that doesn't mean that it's wrong. And in fact, it can lead you to something even better than you imagined. And it's like opening up to all the different possibilities. Like, yeah, your mind can only do so much for you. The universe, your spirit guides, the God, whatever the heck, that has the higher perspective and can work with you to bring in exactly what you want and more. And so when you have this like very limited, like, I'm thinking of someone who has like a specific life plan where they're like, I'm going to get married by 25 and have kids by 30 and blah, 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 you know? And it's like, totally understand that that's important for some people, but if you really want, like, you don't really always know what you want. Like, you don't know what you'll be ready for by the age of 25, right? And so if you're really stuck to that plan, but then you feel like you haven't found the right person by that age, you're going to feel like something's wrong with you. But if you have a more open idea of like, okay, like, well, I'd love, you know, a really significant romantic relationship in my life, and I'd love to have a family in some way, but you're not as caught up on the specifics of it's got to be by this time, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to be as worried when, you know, the age of 25 comes around and you haven't found the person yet. You're like, okay, like, I'm trusting life. I'm doing my thing. Maybe that's not where I need to be right now. Maybe my dream relationship comes later on because I'll have grown in X, Y, and Z way. And then at that point, I'll be a completely different person. I'll be a person I didn't even imagine I could be by that point, and therefore I'll be able to have a relationship I didn't even imagine could exist, right? Does that make sense? So it's like leaving yourself open, being comfortable with the idea that you don't need to know how it's all going to unfold. And you can have as much fun as you want, imagining all the different possibilities and scenarios. I think that can be a great exercise, and that can even help you really get into the mode of what you want. And it's just about being able to let that go once you're done, and let life bring to you that which you're ready for truly in that moment, and trust that, you know, if you keep moving in the direction of your intention, you'll get there, but you don't have to force anything, and you don't have to put a timeline on it. And then we have this one here. All we are is eyes looking for the unbroken, or the edges where the broken bits might fit each other, from How to Be Both by Allie Smith. Yeah, I feel like this can be a really strong reference to like the ways that our brains are really good at like pattern formation and putting pieces together, which can be a gift and an invaluable tool. And it can also be, at the same token, just like so many things in life, it can also get in our way sometimes. So like, you might be letting go of some old patterns that you had around like negativity, around distrust of other people, around emotional pain that you had that you've projected into the future. You know, those are all pieces that you put together like, okay, well, I don't know, my ex was this type of person and was into this type of music and was into this type of stuff, and they really hurt me, so now everyone who I meet who's into that kind of stuff is like that. Like, the really simple version is like, oh my god, like, I hate Taurus people because I had an ex who was a Taurus and I hate them, so everyone who's a Taurus sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's putting a box around people around behaviors. It's like it's like matching a certain behavior to one specific aspect of a person's existence, and extrapolating that is true for like all people who fit that like one specific criteria, which again, it's like our brains are made to do that for pattern recognition, but it doesn't mean it's true, right? And so that's where it can backfire on us a bit, because we could just get stuck in these ruts, in these assumptions that we make about other people and about ourselves and about our situations. And then we need to grow past those and create new, more positive, fulfilling patterns that teach us that more is possible, that people can surprise us, that what we presumed was a quote-unquote red flag could be sometimes something neutral, or something that we're just misunderstanding about a person, once we actually dig deeper. And on that same token, I feel that if you're into the like spiritual aspect and the idea of like becoming more in tune and becoming more conscious and aware of like how all of life fits together, right? If you've ever had one of those like sort of moments where like, I don't know, because I've had this, where all of a sudden like the synchronicities are like too much, like things make too much sense, and like you don't even know if you're on this plane of existence, like those experiences. And you start to see like how things just all fit together, and like you get a better idea of like the bigger picture, but like you also can't fully comprehend it because it's like too much for your brain, because like you're not meant to see that much at once. It's like a little too much. It's like when Edward Elric in Full Metal Alchemist goes through the doors and sees the truth and like screams in pain because it's just like too much knowledge going into his brain all at once, and he like can't process it, like that kind of moment. If you know, if you've had that experience, you've had it. But regardless, it's like the idea that like everything in life fits together perfectly. Every event, every person, everything that is thought or said or whatever fits together in a puzzle piece, like puzzle pieces. But we can't always put that together logically with our brains because we don't have the full picture. But like higher perspectives do, and so like connecting more with that, if you have a spiritual practice or you want to develop one, connecting more with that higher knowledge, connecting more with like spirit guides, for example, connecting more with like whatever, even just the feeling of like the universe, that can help you trust more yourself, the universe, others, and not feel the need to push or force anything or push things away. It can help you flow more, just trusting that, okay, whatever's happening now, like there's a reason for it, and presuming the best instead of presuming the worst. Because it's like, if this resonates with you, it'll make sense. If it doesn't, it's not for you. Just like, take it as you will. But like the idea that like right or wrong, negative or positive, those are just perspectives. So which perspective feels better to you, right? If you, it's not just like putting positivity over something that you just truly don't feel positive about. It's like, if you want to cultivate a more positive outlook, but you feel like you're lying to yourself, are you saying that negativity is the truth? And if you can say that's the truth, can't you just instead flip it and make positivity your truth? You know what I'm saying? And like, blah, 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 toxic positivity. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm actually having trouble like expressing even what I really truly mean, but I know that there are those of you out there who will understand it. And if you do, then you'll get it and it's for you. And like I said, if you don't, if it's not like vibing, it's not for you. That's totally cool. But yeah, it's like the idea that that if you see things with a lighter eye, with a lighter perspective, if you can flip your perspective and make it so you see and experience more of the beauty and stuff that you're already experiencing that's already there, but like you allow your brain to acknowledge it more. Gratitude journaling is great for this, that kind of thing, right? You'll see that it's already there in your life. It's just a matter of like if you're witnessing it and feeling it and experiencing it as much as you can. And so it's like opening yourself up to the positivity, the beauty that's already there, and being able to see it, right? And being able to emphasize that more, as opposed to your brain might be more accustomed to emphasizing the negative and having more of an anxiety response. And like I said, it's just a matter of really learning to regulate that and taking the time to grow a more positive outlook. That's genuine. It's not just covering up. It's not just, like being uncomfortable dealing with the darkness. It's like moving from darkness to light, because you've already walked through that. You already know what it's like. You acknowledge it, you accept it, and then you move into the light. And you, with the knowledge that you have behind you, you leave behind the old emotional pain and connections, knowing that the knowledge and wisdom that you gain is still with you. But you don't have to attach to the story anymore. You don't have to attach to the pain. You don't have to attach to the emotions. You can process those and leave them behind and step into a more positive feeling and outlook. And then, of course, we have this one, which says, such an easy thing to be liked. All you had to do was make sure people didn't know you. Okay, from A Gentleman's Position by J. Charles. So yeah, this file is totally for my people who are, a little emotionally overprotective of yourselves, and you're looking to take down those barriers a little bit. People who are prone to wearing a mask. And look, we all do it from time to time, but when it becomes your lifestyle and you feel like you can't be yourself around anyone, that's when you know it's time to work through that. And that can look like so many different things for so many different people, right? And like sometimes it's a matter of finding environments where you feel more accustomed, more at home to be yourself, right? You feel like you could tap into parts of yourself that feel authentic in certain environments around certain kinds of people. Sometimes it's also opening up to the people who are already in our lives. And to do that, sometimes we have to accept, and this is something you can, take your time doing, but we have to accept the experience of pain in order to move through that and be our truest selves around the people in our lives. Because if we accept the experience of pain, then if someone doesn't react the way that we want them to, or if someone takes some time to come around to who we are, or if someone doesn't understand us at all, but we're truly being ourselves, then we can accept, okay, like, they are going to react how they are, but I am still fine and valid and safe as a human being. I can take care of myself. I can, and this is, of course, if you are physically able to be safe around the people in your life, right? That's up to your own discernment. But like, if you can be who you are, and if you can stand on your own 2 feet and be like, I'm just being myself. I'm, for example, let me give it a specific example. So if you're one that feel like that actually I came up recently in something I was reading, was the idea of like being someone who maybe developed a pattern throughout your life of always being there for other people, and almost like abandoning yourself to serve other people, to be there for other people, without taking into account any of your own needs, and not necessarily doing so consciously, but becoming that caretaker, and maybe wearing even a veneer at times of just being caring and considerate, and like, subjugating yourself for other people, because you feel like that's how you can get love, right? And we all can come across those aspects of ourselves no matter what we grew up in, but sometimes it's the environment we grow up in, it's the expectations of the people who raise us, right? And sometimes it's just like society sort of teaches us that that's who we're supposed to be, depending on like who we are, right? And what position we grow up in society. But, the example is like being that kind of person who's known as always helpful, always there for people, whatever, but you're never really there for yourself. And you know that in order to do so, to really tap into what you need and what you want, you won't be able to be there for people in the same way that you were before. Now, in some scenarios, opening up and truly being yourself and stepping back and taking care of you first, and finding who you truly are, could mean that some people in your life who have relied on you in the past to maybe take care of them in certain ways will not accept you stepping back and taking care of yourself instead, right? And so for some people that means that you might lose those people in your life, and it might be painful. And in that case, in the most extreme scenarios, you have to be able to accept that there will be some pain from losing people in your life. but accept that you are worth it, that you are more important than that you have to stop abandoning yourself and take care of yourself. For other people, and there could be a mixture of this in your experience as well, you might find that people are totally okay with that. Like, you might be surprised by how people react to things. There might be people who never asked for, your help, who are like, oh no, like, totally, like, I get it. You don't even have to be doing this for me, like, take care of yourself, take your time, whatever. Often, like, if you're doing this for people, it's a trauma response because you feel like you need to do this to get love, but that doesn't mean that everyone actually expects that of you, right? Sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. You don't actually know, and it can still be really hard for you to step away from that kind of behavior, even if the people in your life aren't actually trying to, at least not consciously trying to force you or control you into, like, helping them. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I could have picked a better example, but a really, like, basic example for all my fellow LGBTQs out there, Happy Pride Month, gang, is, like, obviously, if you are queer and you are not sure if anyone in your life will accept you, like, again, like, you have to discern based on, like, if you're actually safe in your environment to be yourself or not, and to come out to people. But in some scenarios, you'll be surprised about who will accept you. And in other scenarios, you have to be willing to let the people go who won't accept you, to find a new level of self-acceptance for yourself, and also find the people who will, right? And again, it doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. It can just be like opening up to meeting more people who are like you. Even if you don't necessarily, like, tell everyone in your life about your identity, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you feel, like, isolated from other people who are like you and who will accept you, it's like you can maybe find spaces online or find, spaces in your community that will accept you, and being open to that new experience, even if it's a little scary, right? So anything that, and it can just be even within yourself, right? Just connecting first within yourself, like acknowledging who you are to yourself, right? No matter, like, what your situation is, right? Like, I gave a few examples, but there's infinite possibilities for how you might be masking certain parts of yourself, not accepting certain parts of yourself, not feeling accepted by other people. And it's like finding ways to accept and tap into that, so that you can feel more connected to yourself and feel more firm in who you are, so that when people can react however they want around you, but you know who you are, and you don't feel as threatened in your identity, in yourself, as you might have before when you felt more vulnerable and scared. It's like you got to build that up within yourself, and eventually, you'll feel strong enough in yourself to show who you are, and to stand up to, and to feel like, you know what, any flack I get for this is worth it to be myself, because it's more painful to hide than it is to be myself and have some people just not understand it. And like I said, it's gonna vary in situation, right? And, like, there might be physical things you have to do to make yourself safe in order to be yourself. And for you, it just might be about feeling safe within yourself before you feel like you can be yourself. It's going to vary for everyone, but you'll know. If I'm talking to you, you'll know what applies to you. And I think your spirit team is encouraging you to find ways to embrace more parts of yourself, and to take your time doing this, take your time, but let yourself become more open to connecting more deeply with other people, through connecting deeply with yourself, and through opening up a bit more in your relationships. So let's get some too much. Let's get some song cards. Spirit team for group 2. Do you have any songs that you want to bring up? Let's take that. Any songs for group 2? Any songs for group 2? Okay. And I'm going to give it one more shuffle. Any more songs for group 2? Okay. Well, okay. So, We have Lock It by... What is it? Oh my god, I didn't write the group down. What is Lock It by? I don't remember what it's... Oh no. I'm sorry, guys. If I remember, I'll put it in the description. But Lock It, lyrics are close your eyes and hear my secret, deep, deep loving, hear my secret, hear my secret. So this, I think, is about like... Oh, yeah. Okay, so obviously we were just talking about like parts of you that you feel like you can't share with other people, that you feel like are a secret, or you feel like you have to mask or whatever. It's like, yeah, either closing your eyes and hearing your own secrets. So being open to being honest with yourself internally about what is going on within you, right? So for some of you, it's going to be being honest about who you are, about what you like, about what you dislike, about what you want out of life. Okay, it can be difficult to look at all those things in the eye, especially like if like things that you want out of life, you feel like you can't have them, so you pretend that you don't want them, but you actually do. And it's like, it's time to get in touch with that. And it's time to acknowledge that, because once you do acknowledge that, you can actually start taking steps towards understanding that you can have that in your life, and then take steps towards having it in your life, right? But you have to open the door within you. You have to hear that. You have to let yourself feel it. And you have to let yourself also feel the grief of like whatever disappointments in the past have led you to believe that you can't have what you want, right? Sometimes we hold on to that and we don't process it, and then that becomes our, present and future when it doesn't need to be. So, yeah. But it's also could be about sharing some part of yourself with other people as well. Like I said, we went over all the scenarios. It's not in like a case where you're not going to be safe, all of that. But it's about even like if you want to connect more deeply with your spirit guides, intentionally, communicate with them, journal, whatever, like you have some stuff that you need to get out, I think, and that's going to help you let go of whatever past pain has been holding you back in relationships, and I think it's very important for me to say this. If there are things where you feel like you have been held back, and, don't beat yourself up about it. The reason this is coming up now is because you're ready to look at it. Okay? And all things happen in perfect time, right? So it's like, it's time now for you to look at this, but it's okay if it's taken you time to get here. It's about the process. It's about the journey, right? So this is just helping you on, the next step in your journey of like opening up to who you truly are and unmasking another layer of yourself that maybe you've just kept hidden for a while and it's ready to come out. We also have Home by Cavetown, which, I believe Cavetown is aromantic and asexual and also trans. So this could be some fellow LGBTQ people in this group. Shout out, like I said, happy Pride Month. Often I'm upset that I cannot fall in love, but I guess that avoids the stress of falling out of it. Okay, yeah, so all my homies who are like avoiding love and stuff because you're afraid. I see you, I feel you, I am you, but it's time to get real with ourselves, right? About what we want and about what's holding us back and about the past pain that we are ready to leave behind, okay? People out there will accept you, but also even if they don't need to for you to accept yourself, right? Your spirit guides love you. They see every part of you. They love you unconditionally, okay? Even if you feel like no one else does, they do. They got you. And so if you do, resonate with that and believe in that, it's time to connect more with that, right? It's time to connect more with that and really internalize that the universe doesn't see right or wrong. The universe doesn't see you as wrong or broken or bad. The universe sees you as exactly who you're meant to be, exactly how you're meant to be. And the universe knows exactly how you fit into this great puzzle piece of life, and you fit perfectly, my friend. So, yeah. I feel like there's something else that I want to say with Home, but I'm not remembering it. Definitely listen to the song if you feel like that'll help, because there's a lot more meaning you can get out of it. It is a little bit about depression, about feeling maybe a little trapped in your home situation, like you can't be fully who you are, not knowing if you'll be accepted. But there is a really hopeful tone that it takes, especially towards the end of the song. The idea that as you grow older, as you grow more into yourself, like I said, you have plenty of time to be who you want to be. As you grow, you will feel more and more comfortable and at home in yourself. And so it's that delicate dance between being consciously moving in that direction that you want to go in, while also allowing yourself to naturally grow in that direction and allowing it to take the time that it's going to take in order for you to get where you want to be, right? And then we also have Beautiful Day by U2. What you don't have, you don't need it now. What you don't know, you can feel it somehow. What you don't have, you don't need it now, need it now. Okay, yeah, exactly. Okay, so like, right, yeah. So, okay. And this is even going back to like what I said about like if you feel like you're on some kind of timeline, you're running late, you're not, you're behind schedule on something in your relationship life or whatever, you don't have what you want in your life. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be right now. What you don't have, you don't need it now. What you don't know, you can feel it somehow. So it's like you don't need to have or know everything right now, right? You are exactly where you need to be. You have exactly what you need to have right now. That doesn't mean that you won't have what you want or what you feel like you're missing in the future, but it starts with the acceptance of the now. That might be a pain in the ass to hear, but it's true and it's possible. And once you stop feeling like you need something outside of yourself or someone outside of yourself to validate your experience, to tell you that you're okay where you're at, that's ultimate freedom, baby. That's mental, emotional, spiritual freedom. You are free to just live your life, to be exactly who you are, and to recognize that nothing has ever been wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you, and nothing will be wrong with you. And in this life, it doesn't have to be about proving yourself, about striving, about accomplishing things outside of you. Rather, it can be about experiencing, having new experiences, being enthusiastic and open and curious about the world around you, and living that through your relationships. Like, it doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. It can be enjoyable and fun. And it doesn't have to look like anyone else's story. It doesn't have to match anyone else's idea of what is quote unquote right. That's not like, there's a part of me that like wants to get really angry right now because I feel like some of you have people in your life who really try to tell you that there's like a specific way of doing things, and in some cases, maybe they mean the best and they think that they know from their personal experience what is for the best, and they're just not aware that deep down everyone is on their own path and needs their own thing, right? And there are some cases where maybe you've internalized that, even if people haven't tried to force that on you, but like you just feel like societally there's a narrative that feels like it's being forced on you regardless, and in that case also like fuck that as well. But also in some cases, like, some people just want to fucking control everyone. Like, they just want to control people by telling them what to do. And, like, they just think that's, I don't know. Sometimes that's the case. And it's just like, nah, right? You're your own person. You got to do you. And you can validate yourself and say, I am okay exactly how I am. And like I said, your spirit team is telling you that. If you need to hear it, they believe it. They see it. They know it. They don't need to believe it, like they know it, like they see it, like they have the perspective that we don't have as often and we don't tap into as often, of like just seeing the true essence of everything and everyone. And you're perfect. So yeah, that may be part of the past pain that you're letting go, is around that, around feeling like you've done wrong or that you are wrong for how you are. And that's bullshit. So I've been really sweary in this one. I hope YouTube doesn't notice. Okay. I'm going to get you some Hafiz advice cards now. So group 2, Spirit Team, what advice can we give group 2? Alright, I'll take these. Bottom of the deck, we have number 2, protect your boundaries. So that could be significant for some people. Protect your boundaries. Boundaries are really just like can be internal as well as external. And your internal boundaries is like what you allow to get into your head and what you allow to take root there. And you can, believe it or not, exercise your own power to say that negativity is not welcome here. Right? Okay, so we have the number 41 with transform. So we'll look at this one first. Yeah, so there's a transformation happening here for some of you. Like, walking away from, like, whatever emotional patterns you're walking away from is allowing you to transform yourself, your love life, your relationships, whatever. You're transforming here. So, transform. The snow and I are kneeling on roofs all over the world, and a spring will come to each life, and we will melt back into God. I'm so sorry if it's getting kind of dark in here, but whatever. Let go, surrender whatever form you're clinging to. Yeah. Ooh, like that turtle shell, that like shield that you have around you. Ooh, you're ready to surrender that. Like a phoenix carries certainty of rebirth in its breast, go willingly into the fire and surrender whatever is aching to be reborn. Outdated beliefs, old ideas, worn out dreams, burnt out relationships, anything that makes you feel too small, overly tired, or not enough are fire worthy. New life needs the space of transformation in order to take root. Drop your defenses and melt away all that does not belong. Ooh. Yeah, I feel that really strongly. I feel that might feel scary for some of you. I get it. It feels scary for me too. But just because it's scary doesn't mean it's actually bad. And you don't have to push yourself too hard, all right? Just one foot in front of the other. One foot in front of the other, all right? One step at a time. It'll, yeah. If you can make transformation in increments, like if there are small steps you can take, start there. We have 37, unleash your passion. Ooh, okay. This little poem is, yeah. The wolf's beautiful howl so unleashed my passions. My lover smiled for days. Okay. So maybe some of you like I might keep it PG, but maybe some of you are looking to step into accepting like your passionate side a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Seek your muse, court her. When she visits, create with wild abandon. Let nothing hold back your whimsy and your folly, your bliss. Allowing your passion to grow, be nurtured, and expressed is one of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself and the world. Don't let modesty or fear repress your inspiration. You have galaxies inside of you. Express them. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and for some of you, like, maybe this deepening, like, unmasking of yourself, deepening your relationships around you involves, like, expressing yourself more freely, even creatively and artistically. Like, you're afraid to share your artwork or your writing or whatever because people around you won't understand it. But there are people who need it. There are people in your life or in the world who need your creativity. They need your expression of yourself. Like, if you're getting something out of this right now, I overcame a lot of fears to just do what I'm doing right now. So so for those of you who are actually grateful for this, like, you too can, and probably do already, share things that are really valuable with the world that other people will love and see the value in. And that's more important than the people who won't, right? You just gotta believe that that's more important. That helping one person is more important than all the people out there who are just like, I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't like it. You know what I mean? And we have 9, use your power. Yeah, so there is like a lot of personal empowerment in this reading for you, through leaving like your old pain behind. I think a lot of it around rejection, around protecting yourself emotionally, like we all do. It's no big deal, but we just gotta, find ways to let ourselves be more vulnerable. So we have, use some of your wonderful power to pardon every deed of your own past that you might still be in conflict with. And deeds, too, of any you felt ever harmed you. That is part of letting go of the past pain, is forgiving yourself and others in the past so that you can truly move on. And it's not about forgiveness in the sense that, like, you can go around and, like, communicate directly with people if there's things that you can resolve in person and whatnot, but it's more about an internal process that happens within you. And you can't force it really, but you can, open yourself up to it, right? You don't have to force it. Like I said, this is a process. You have time. You don't have to push yourself or rush yourself. You're already, I bet you are already making strides in this direction, and this is just really encouraging you on, right? So recognize how far you've come already and realize that you're still on that trajectory and you're still moving in the direction you want to move in. True strength comes from vulnerability. Your power, therefore, is at its zenith when you own all of your experience truthfully. When you forgive yourself and others and speak your truth without shame or fear, you grow fierce with reality. Yeah, so you are in the process of growing fierce with reality, and that's leading you to number 3, embrace your magnificence. Which, I mean, that peacock says it all, right? Like, this is bringing you into a phase where you are just fully being yourself with no shame. It is really giving, like, Pride Month, so, I'm sure some of you resonate with that out here. But, like, no matter who you are, embracing your pride. To your magnificent throne, you can return with benevolent acts towards yourself and others. A 4-year-old isn't self-conscious about her power. She plays and struts and boastfully announces her ability to twirl and spit. This is the joy of being, taking up the fullness of your space and strutting the genius of you, unself-consciously, even as a young child would. This is an act of generosity. As you share your brilliance with the world, you grant permission for others to share theirs. Like I said, when people get to know you, it is a gift to them from you, right? And like, not everyone in your past may have understood that. You might not have always understood that, but that doesn't mean you can't do it now, and that doesn't mean people won't, right? And that doesn't mean that everyone has to understand it in order for it to be true. So there. And I'm actually going to read the one for protect your boundaries too. I didn't do that for the other one, but I'm going to do that because it's right here behind 3. So number 2, protect your boundaries. What bird does not protect their wings, knowing the beautiful, vital taste of freedom? Yeah, okay, so it's like, once you've got your freedom, your emotional freedom, it's like, protect that shit. And that doesn't mean, like, that can look different for everyone and for every situation, It doesn't have to be aggressive. In some cases, it might be. Your boundaries are part of life's birthright, but they must be carefully cultivated and consciously guarded. Just as an ungated garden is open to predators, so too is our energy when it lacks a strong container. Be watchful, be generous with your energy, but equally generous to your own life force. Yeah, so it's the give and take. So it's like honestly, that example that's coming to mind that I gave earlier on of like, if someone has been trained throughout their life to be giving to others at the expense of themselves, learning to give to themselves is sometimes scary and difficult, but it is the only way that you can really truly connect with yourself and others is to know how to love yourself and give to yourself, and then connect with others from a space of being able to share what you already have rather than give others what you don't have and can't give yourself. You picking up what I'm putting down? You getting it? Right? And it's not to look upon ourselves with judgment if we have struggled with that. No. The point of life is not to get it perfect from day one. Otherwise, why would we live, right? It's like, the point of life is to experience and explore, and this is all part of your exploration. The moments where you feel like you're not living how you want to live shows you how you actually want to live. Otherwise, there would be no point. Like, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so I guess we are going to end that there. These have been longer than I intended them to be, but you know what? Hopefully they're helpful. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you would like. And also, if you're interested, my mom and I have a business, sunflowerphilosophy.com. We have the link in the description. We do tarot readings, one-on-one sessions, hypnosis. We do, my mom does human design readings. Any of that, if that interests you, you can check out the link in the description. regardless, I hope you have a wonderful day, and see you in another reading soon. Bye. Hi, Group 3. Welcome to your reading. This is Juliana, and today we are getting messages from your spirit team. I've intended for this to just be any like higher beings that you connect with, whether it's spirit guides, angels, your higher self, whatever, the most, whatever wants to come through. And then also, of course, if you don't necessarily connect with those concepts or ideas, or you don't feel connected with those specific beings or that idea in general, you could still get some messages from this. Just take what resonates. And so my intention is just to bring forth like personal guidance for you from energy beings, whatever, that knows you the best and has something to say to you. And if you picked like this dark purplish sort of stone, then you're in the right place. So Group 3, let's get started. So first of all, I picked out a tarot card to give us sort of the topic. So I loosely assigned like the suits each a topic, but then actually for you guys, you actually got a major arcana card. So it's a little bit different for those. So I already have ideas about what your reading will probably be about, but we're also going to then get more information in the form of my quote cards and my song cards, because I think it's fun to do readings that are just predominantly those. You can get like so much information just from the quotes I found, and it's really worked well so far. And then I'll finish with some advice cards as well. So your card to start for the topic that your spirit team wants to talk about, we have the Sun. And so I was really excited when I saw this card because, well, for many reasons, but one of them being that when I actually did a little personal reading for myself before I started doing this reading, just to test out this format and see how I like it, I actually pulled the Sun card for myself. And the reading I got was really interesting, and I really liked it. And I was wondering, I wonder if any of these piles will get the Sun card too. And then lo and behold, it popped out for you guys too. After I shuffled it and everything, so I was excited to see it again. So we'll see. Might be some similar messages to what I got, but it also might be a little bit different, because we'll definitely get some quote cards and see what specific information, advice, messages are for you, right? But yeah, so with the Sun card immediately, it's considered one of the generally most positive, happy, joyful cards in the deck. To me, it's really about connecting with childhood, connecting with your childhood self, your childish joy, interests, positivity in general. And one thing that kept coming up for me every time I was seeing this card, actually, when I had shuffled it originally for you guys, was randomly, like, it's not like I haven't seen this movie recently, but the song "The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow" from Annie. So that might be specifically significant to some of you, but in general, with that song, if you like don't know how it goes, it's like the sun will come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow, come what may. So it's like about sort of like, it's about positivity. It's about not getting caught up in the negativity that you might be presently in, and believing in a brighter future. And I think the important thing for you guys is right now, for a lot of you, either you have stepped into a time period in your life where things are just looking up in general and you're already there and it's great, and it's like, this is saying this is your new normal right now. Like, you've reached a new level of positivity, of happiness, of like personal joy, and you can settle into that and trust that. And then for others of you, it might be like you're in various stages of achieving this new state of positivity and happiness. Like, there's certain things that you're in the process of healing that are bringing you to this joy. And I do feel with the song Tomorrow, while it is kind of like projecting your happiness into the future, which isn't necessarily what we want to do perpetually, because then like we never have it in the present, right? It's, to me, an act of, like in the movie, like this is before Annie is adopted by a wealthy man and then finds her forever family or whatever. She's an orphan. And she's maintaining her optimism no matter what her circumstances are. And this is her way of sort of bridging her life from the one that she currently has and the circumstances that she's currently in to the one that she believes in, the future that she believes in. It's her way of keeping her spirits up when maybe she might have trouble seeing the positives in some of the present day situations around her. Like, there's a source within her that she gets her positivity from and her optimism from, and she cultivates that by it's like sort of a bridging thing. Like, if you can't believe in your happiness in this moment, it's like, okay, but I can believe in it in a future moment, and that's your next step. And then you just keep bridging until you get to the moment when you're like, I am satisfied and joyful and able to access that joy within myself right now in the present, if that makes sense. So I feel like that is a significant thing for a lot of you. And overall, I just feel like there's a lot of great vibes here. And I think that your spirit team, or whoever you are connecting with most, is really happy for you and really excited for you. And they want you to be happy and excited for yourself too about this phase in your life. So we're going to get some more messages with these quote cards. I'm going to shuffle 2 decks of them because I actually have so many. I can't shuffle them all at once. That's why, in my other readings, I, break them down into smaller piles for each group so I can, not struggle to shuffle. Ooh, okay, we're going to keep that one because that one just, popped out right away. Okay, so Spirit Team for group 3, what messages do you want to give to them today? Group 3 Spirit, ooh, okay. Yeah, and one more shuffle from this deck and then we'll move to the other one, okay. Wow, okay. We're gonna get probably a little bit more cards for you guys than I intended, but I think I've said this in other readings, but I just kind of let whatever needs to come out for each group come out. The biggest struggle is just making sure all these fit in view, so I'm going to probably have to cover some cards up, and you're just going to have to be okay with that. All right. Oh, okay. Whoa. Oh, okay. One more shuffle from this deck. Anything else that you want? Okay. There was one that was catching my eye. I'm going to put it on the top of the deck. I'm not going to take it yet because I just want to get to the rest of the ones that already fell out, but we might grab another one for you, even though we don't need it because this is insane. Okay, cool. Well, let's just get to it. So we have this first card here, and the quote says, "Adventure is what happens when the human spirit breaks free from the mind." This is from the book called The Gene Keys by Richard Rudd, which I don't even really understand what the Gene Keys are, but there's a lot of interesting insight in there, and it's something that my mom has been interested in, so that's why I have it. But I think just on its own, adventure is what happens when the human spirit breaks free from the mind goes really well with this card, because I do feel like with the Sun card, and especially with this particular Sun card, it's like the idea that you're not hiding from life anymore. It's the idea that you are, rather than being afraid of whatever's out there waiting for you, you're excited about it. You're excited to see what happens, and you're not necessarily projecting specific things that you need to see happen or your fears about what could happen. You're open in that innocent childhood way to the possibilities. Oh, and actually I do want to read before we get into the rest of it from the booklet with these cards, because there's just the little statement in there sums it up really well. It says, "Returning to the innocence and vitality of childhood." Yeah. And so I feel like that goes right hand in hand with being adventurous and feeling adventurous about life. And that's the thing, okay? The important thing to note is that what your spirit team wants you to understand is that it's not that you won't experience a myriad of different experiences in life that some might that might be more positive from one perspective and more negative from another perspective. You know what I mean? You'll still experience a full spectrum of things in your life, but there's something about either what you're stepping into or what you've already stepped into, this chapter of your life, where your whole attitude and perspective has shifted, whether through healing that you're currently doing, healing that you've already done, whatever it is, I just got the word, like the phrase transmuting your fears, which is not something I like say. Like I don't use the word transmuting a lot, but I've definitely heard other people use that. And so if that resonates with you, like through doing that, you are going to experience, like, I think that it's like true that for a lot of you, like life will go smoother from now on, and maybe already has been, and you can trust that. But it's also that even when there are ups and downs, they won't feel the same as they used to. Like when you were a child, wow, a lot of stuff is like hitting me right now. Okay, so like when you're a child, the world, it depends. Okay, so some of you might be tapping into childish joy and such that you did experience at one point and then got a little bit, covered up by the adult, quote unquote, world, right? Some of you might be returning to a childish joy that you never experienced in this lifetime, but is still accessible to you through the work that you've been doing on yourself, and you're maybe experiencing it for the first time. No matter what, congratulations on accessing that. It's very fun. There also might be some things in childhood that you might still need to revisit in order to fully welcome in this adventurous spirit, this smooth sailing, this like new positive outlook that you're embracing fully. So for some of you, if you know that there are certain things that you still need to address, like this is saying, nothing to be afraid of. You can do that. You can do it. You're doing it already, right? Like you're on this track. This is open for you. And for some of you, it's also reminding you that when you were a child, things that happened, big, small, positive, negative, whatever, felt so big to you. And you were a different person then. You were taking things in, you were open and sensitive, and like you didn't have the same experience and wisdom and tools that you have now as an adult. So life is going to feel different than it did to you as a child. The things that you experienced as trauma, you don't have to experience those things as trauma going forward. In fact, it's not like like if you experienced, someone who was like bullying you, right, when you were a child, and it was really hurtful and intense, and you felt ostracized, you didn't know like how to accept yourself, you didn't know how to stand up for yourself and whatnot, like that was a really difficult experience. But as an adult, if someone were to come at you in the same kind of way, like you would respond completely differently because you're a different person, right? So it's the idea that even with the ups and downs of life, you are just going to be experiencing it as a much smoother, much less traumatic, like journey, if you will. And you're much more open to the ups and downs, the different people and places and things that you'll encounter from a new perspective. And you're able to see it from a more joyful and less burdened perspective. Because you're breaking free from like old mind patterns, old traumas and things like that. And maybe you already have, right? And again, like I think your spirit team is very happy for you and very excited for you about this. So yeah, let's get through these quotes because we got to keep moving. Okay, so we have this card, and I actually want to comment on the image first. So if you notice this like little figure that we have, he's like cracked right here, and he's crying. And one thing I didn't notice until someone pointed it out to me when they saw me draw this figure was that this little guy, he's like broken, right? But he doesn't have a mouth, so he can't communicate it. He can't speak. He can't tell anyone that he's broken. So for some of you, there might be an experience that you've had, especially from childhood, where you didn't know how to communicate, like when you were hurt. You didn't know how to communicate your emotional needs, what you were feeling inside. But now as an adult, you can do that. You know how to do that. And if you feel like you haven't fully built yourself a process or a firm foundation of like not just coping mechanisms, but ways of actually processing and handling emotions and traumas, you are being encouraged to do so, because this is on the other side of that. But also, I think a lot of you have been in your own ways, whatever that looks like for you, because there's no one way to do that. And it's saying like, it's reminding you that you aren't this person without a voice anymore, whatever that experience has been for you, you have that capability now. And the quote on the back says, "It would be good to be full of holes," she says. "Then all the things you can't express would maybe just flow out." From Winter by Ali Smith. Yeah, so this is all about expressing yourself, expressing things that you can't express. So for some of you, you might still be in the process of almost like of expressing things, of expelling things, of releasing things. Whether you're doing like energy work, you're doing some yoga, you're doing some journaling, you're doing some art, all of the above. You're talking to people, you're going to therapy, whatever resonates with you, like expressing things, getting things out, getting things that are like maybe from your childhood out is freeing you to embrace this sun, this joyful energy. We also have this pretty heart, and it says, "We know that from time to time there arise among human beings people who seem to exude love as naturally as the sun gives out heat." From Alan Watts. Oh my gosh, the sun. Wow, we're like talking about that. Yeah, so it's like, it's like that childhood or childish like innocence of like just pure love that you give to your parents or to people around you. Like children, if you're also like maybe spending time around children would help you in some ways as well. But like children are fascinating beings, but something that is really interesting to come into contact with is how easily sometimes the children do really give love, and also receive it. And sometimes we lose our ability to give and receive love freely as we grow up because we're taught that it comes with a price tag, it comes with expectations that we aren't prepared to fulfill. Unconditional love really is what this is about, and that's something that you tap into that goes beyond any surface level like give and take. It's like the energy, right, that you already have access to. Just when you just tap into yourself, you could get that from yourself, and then you can share it with other people. But it's an unlimited resource when you've tapped into it in yourself, and so you don't worry about losing it. You just are it, right? That's just what you are. You've tapped into what you are. So a lot of you are really tapping into what you are, and you are becoming this person. And also I think that it's allowing you to connect with people who are embodying this as well, and also like tap into that part of people around you in your life. And then we have this card, which if you can see, it's like a faded rainbow color. And it says, "Change is the nature of luck." This is from Summer by Ali Smith. So we've got winter and summer here. Yeah, okay, so you're like moving through the progression of the seasons, and you're moving from winter through spring into summer. And maybe a lot of you are like in the spring mode of your life where you're growing, and this healing process is still taking place, and you're like stepping into summer now with the sun, into the light, into like you've traversed the darkness of yourself, of winter, of whatever. You've gone through that already. You did that. That's behind you. You've done that. You've familiarized with that aspect of yourself and of life, and you're integrating that, and you're stepping into the light. And so like when darkness comes around again, like you already know how to deal with that, experience that. It's not about that anymore for you. It's really about embracing the adventure of life and seeing things in a new light. And change is the nature of luck. It's like this might come with a chapter of a lot of change for you, but it's like you're going to embrace this change in a new way. In the past, change might have felt really scary, but moving forward, because of all this work you've done with yourself, whether you've done it consciously or you just feel like you've been, over time, naturally healing things, whatever your experience has been, change is going to feel so much less scary and much more exciting. And it's reminding you, like, change is the nature of luck. It's like, in order to have luck, you have to be open to change, right? Because that's what luck is. It's a big change happening in your life, and it's just one that you consider to be positive, and that's all down to your outlook. And then we have this card, which is like ink blots. And so maybe journaling is important for some of you. And this says, "Past failure does not prove that there is not a chance in the future," yes? And this is from The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Yeah, so exactly. So it's like, you're not projecting your past into your future anymore. And you're not believing that just because you, quote unquote, have made mistakes, if you even believe in like the concept of mistakes, which honestly, like, you don't even have to see anything that you do as a mistake. You could just see it as an experiment where it's like, oh, what's the outcome of this? Oh, interesting. Not what I expected, or sometimes it is what you expected. Regardless, it's not a mistake, it's an experience. And I think a lot of you are taking that into this, maybe you are even already are here, and this is just confirmation for you. Like, that nothing that you did in the past, nothing that quote unquote failed in the past, maybe in your childhood you were someone who felt like, whether through what other people told you or how you felt about yourself, that you made a lot of mistakes, that something about you, like you can't do anything right? It's like, no, you are moving into an era of life where you're not seeing yourself through that lens anymore. You're not seeing life through that lens anymore. And this is opening up so many chances for you because you're ready to take chances, because you're not afraid of quote unquote failure. You're actually excited about your mistakes and you're ready to embrace that. And if you're not quite there yet, you're being encouraged to move to that perspective in whatever way you can, and to start embracing that, because that is the key for you to this beautiful sunrise that's happening in your life. We also have this butterfly, and we have what the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls the butterfly, from Illusions by Richard Bach. Yeah, so like you're becoming this butterfly now. Like you went through the darkness of the cocoon phase, and you're emerging as the butterfly in a much more positive and uplifted way. And for some of you, like, you might just be starting the journey to getting to this place. So it's not like you don't have any darkness to traverse, but it's saying like you're on that road and you're seeing the light, and like it might come on gradually, but like it's happening. And for others of you, you've really stepped into that. Like you've reached the tipping point where you actually feel and are starting to see the changes already. And maybe you're just needing more encouragement. Like your spirit team is like encouraging you to embrace that and to not fear it, right? Because there can be a little bit of fear when you're like, oh shoot, I'm so used to chaos, I'm so used to darkness, I'm so used to being in this one way and seeing the world from this perspective. Like now that I'm starting to embrace seeing it from a new perspective, there's a part of me that might fight that a little bit, right? That might find it a little scary, but it's saying that, you know, you just move through that, and that part of you will get less and less, and you'll really start to feel this energy take solid root if it hasn't already. So then we have this card, which actually came out in another group, and it says, such an easy thing to be liked. All you had to do was make sure people didn't know you, from A Gentleman's Position by KJ Charles. And yeah, so for some of you, maybe this embracing your like childhood, your joy, whatever, is going back to things that really, it's like remembering what brought you so much joy when you were a child and piqued your curiosity, the things that you were interested in then. And if you haven't cultivated a practice of like, say like it was like art and drawing, and like you were really into that, but then like maybe somewhere along the line you were told that you were bad at it, which is ridiculous and not true. And there's no one who like can't do art. I'm not saying we can't have standards when it comes to like the art that we create, but it's also like the act of expression is sometimes more important than anything, especially when you're starting out, but also in general. And if you have that snuffed out by, you know, people who tell you that you are bad at something, or you just, you know, compare yourself to others and you feel like you're not as good as other people, you lose sight of the act of expression that is just like inherently valuable, right? Like that is valuable in and of itself. It's about the process, not the product. And but you might suppress that part of yourself because you don't want people to judge you. And so you just suppress that interest, and then you lose touch with it. And this is saying like, go back to the things that you lost touch with, maybe because of fear of being judged. Or if there are things that even like you still love, but you have judgment for, that you are interested in because other people made up the fiction that being into that thing isn't cool or whatever, like that's just like, that's childish, you know, that's childish stuff. And like we all go through that and we're all conditioned by it, but like as an adult you can release that and just find the joy in the things that you love again, and like forget what other people are saying. If other people don't want like to experience joy, that's their business, but you are fully welcome to, right? So it's like, you know, letting go of the mask that you wear, letting go of the, oh, okay, so it's like, it's just brought to mind like the idea of like cringe culture, you know, if you've been online at all, you've probably been familiar with that. The idea that like like there's such thing as like being cringy, or like cringe things that you do being cringeworthy, or things that you're interested in being cringeworthy. And then there's been like sort of a shift of like, well, yeah, this is cringeworthy, but you know what, I'm gonna own my cringe. And like that's a good bridge, but I think we can move beyond that into the space of throw out the whole concept altogether of cringe. Like, forget about that. Like, ooh, even the word makes me cringe, which that's my my own response that I can I have judgment for that, for sure, that I can transmute. I'm getting that word transmute again. But like, yeah, no, we're throwing out the idea of cringe, and we're just taking off our masks, and we're saying like, this is who I am, this is what I love, and this is how I truly feel about it. Oh yeah, for some of you, there might be a thing of like, you want to remove yourself from some, maybe sometimes it's online spaces where there's like negativity around things that you like. Or, okay, for some of you, like, oh yeah, some of you, if you're like really into, like for me, this is something from my life as well. If you're like really into like certain books or movies, video games, like, I don't know, I don't know, whatever you're interested in, like you're nerdy about, that you love, there might be a lot of chatter, a lot of criticism or judgment of those things online from all sides. And while it can be really fun and interesting to engage with other people in discussion and be open to other perspectives on things that you're interested in, sometimes you lose touch with like your personal response and what it personally means to you in favor of like what other people say about it, right? And if you're so steeped in other people's opinions, you don't even really know how you actually feel and what you actually think. And you kind of just take on the collective ideas about the thing. So if you remove yourself from those like, forums or videos or other people's opinions for a while, and you sit with yourself and you just experience the thing for yourself, you might find that you have your own ideas about it that aren't always in alignment with what other people say, but like feel better to you because it's like true to you. And because if you're like me, or if you are opening up to like really getting more in touch with yourself, and you are someone who really is into stories and stuff, and that's like a way that you relate to the world, it's a great way for you to get to know yourself better by just being with yourself and whatever story that you're taking in. And really getting in touch with how you're responding to it. What parts of it you love, what parts of it make you uncomfortable, what parts of it like maybe speak to some kind of wound within you. There have definitely been, a lot of the stories here for me have in one way or another brought me closer to a part of myself that I didn't know I'd lost touch with. And it really only started happening when I stopped paying attention to what other people were saying about the things that I was interested in, and started like just listening to like the parts of me that got excited about a thing that I was into, or didn't like an aspect of a thing I was into. And I was like, oh, like what's underneath that, What about this aspect of this thing is eliciting such an emotional response in me? And that's how I really got in touch with myself and like who I truly was. And also it helped like me work through some things that that maybe had been an issue for me for a long time, because I wasn't paying attention to anyone else's opinions or judgments or thoughts. There's a place and a time for that, but sometimes you just got to be with yourself and with the thing, and understand that there's no one correct way to view something or experience something. Everything is the experience that you're having. And so it's like paying attention to who you truly are and what you're truly experiencing in the moment is a way of really getting in touch with yourself and getting in touch with the true joy that is open, that's within you, that you, does it make sense? You get it? I don't know. I feel like, I hope that made sense. This is something that I'm still learning how to express, like, because it's been such an experience for me to do this for myself, to really just go within and not look at things from a purely academic lens, or look at things from a critical lens or judgmental lens, but rather let myself experience the thing without judgment, but noticing myself, my own reactions, and what's truly me and what's not someone else's voice. And sometimes like you have someone else's voice in your head and you recognize that as like, that's a collective opinion, but is that really how I feel? It doesn't quite mesh with me. So maybe I can get rid of that judgment, that thought, whatever, and understand where I'm truly coming from. You got it? So it's interesting because I got a sort of different message from this card in the other group, but that's the fun of like these cards, is that you don't always realize how many connections you can make to just like one quote. So then we have this card. Interesting. So a really fearful kind of face here. This says, often does hatred hurt itself. And this is from The Lord of the Rings. And I don't know I don't remember the actual like original context of this quote, or who said it, or like what it was meant to mean in that context. But to me, very simply, it's just like, yeah, okay, kind of what I just said about like the concept of like cringe culture and like cringing at like your childhood self, or like things that you used to be into, or like any version of yourself, or things that you are into now. It's like, that's only hurting you, right? When people are like putting limits and barriers around what they can be into and what they can like, when people are really intent on hating things, like there's a culture around hating things. It's like totally, your choice how you want to like respond to the world, but like hating on something or someone, like it's hurting you, right? At the end of the day. And so learning to, again, just like connect back with your inner joy and what you love about things, and the parts of you that are so ready and willing to give love to everyone and everything, like, that's also there for you. Like, if you want to keep accessing the hurt and the hatred, like, that's your prerogative. But if you're like kind of done with that, or you're just like, I'm so sick of that in general around me, be that change you want to see. Be the one who embraces the joy, embraces the love, and puts that out there, and like is that person, I think for some of you, you might be used to being in spaces where there's a lot of hatred and negativity towards things just in general. And if you're here, you're probably sick of it. You're probably like, I'm not about that. So, yeah, you don't have to be about that. You can change and grow. If that was once the way that you interacted with the world, then that's okay. But you can choose to interact differently. It's just life. It's just, we go through one phase so that we can enter another and compare it to the other phase and be like, interesting. You learned some stuff, and that's totally fine. And then we also have, so some of you definitely like stories. So we have the books here. We have, she likes to read. She reads all the time. She prefers to be reading several things at once. She says it gives endless perspective and dimension. This is from Autumn by Allie Smith. Wow, so we have winter, summer, and autumn by Allie Smith in this reading. We're just missing spring. And yeah, so it's like, yeah, okay, so a lot of you are, like, for some of you, maybe specifically, like, you're getting back into reading books that you read when you were younger. Maybe for some of you, you're specifically getting in touch with, like, rereading things, rewatching things, whatever it is, to remember your childhood self and, like, the magic that you first experienced with those stories. There might be a lot of nerds out there. Shout out. Cool. Embrace that. Be open to re-experiencing the joy that you had. Stop cringing at your younger self. Some of you need to hear that. Not all of you. Some of you need to hear that. And start reconnecting with what brought you that joy in the first place. The parts of it that were positive for you. Reconnect with that. And also maybe some of you just need to, like, whatever way that you prefer to consume stories, like, get more conscious and cognizant about, like I just said before, I'm repeating myself, what I said before about being really in touch with your own perspective. When you read a story, what does it bring out in you? What does it elicit in you? What do you think about it? How do you feel about it? And dig into that. And it's really interesting when you do that. I actually found that, because that's the way that I prefer to engage with most things, that once I really got in touch with myself, and my intuition in general, like, now I hardly can pick up a story or have a story be put in front of me without it having some kind of significant meaning to, like, whatever I'm going through in life and helping me heal or progress through something. And maybe for some of you, that's also, like, the perspective you've been in, and maybe you're ready to start stepping into a like more, like, less, like, self-analytical, process, and maybe for some of you, you're just simply being encouraged to purely enjoy the thing and not get too within yourself about it. I think it's going to be different for everyone, you know? I think all different kinds of engagement with like things that you love and different ways that they can either mean a lot to you or just purely give you a good time, like however you're choosing to engage with them, like there's value in all of that. I think for some of you, you could probably benefit from really paying more attention to yourself and your experiences with like story. And some of you can really benefit from like, now you're ready to move out of like being so self-focused in that way and just enjoying things. You know what I'm saying? You'll know who that's for. And then we have some song cards I'm going to move into now before I get to the advice, because I want to, because that brings me joy. Music is a big one for me. I mean, honestly, so are books and stories and words. I love words. I find language can be frustrating in that it feels limiting when you don't feel like you have the words to convey what you want to convey, because what you want to convey is more than just the words. It's like the vibes underneath it. But like, yet it's also so amazing and incredible how people use words creatively to manage to convey such complex ideas and vibes. And it's so fun. Also, I just already got some songs. All right, I'll give it one more shuffle. Any more Spirit Team? Any more messages? Any more messages for group 3? Well, that's a lot. Guys, that's a lot. All right. I feel like there's something else, so I'm just going to give it one more shuffle, but I'm not taking all of those because you guys already got like a ton of quote cards. Spirit Team for group 3. Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. You know what? We're going to leave that there. Oh, but we also have on your side here, and I feel like your Spirit Team wants to remind you that they are on your side. They're always on your side. And it says, life isn't pretty, we all get a little wrecked sometimes. If God is listening, people think you're out of your mind. Even if you believe it, through all the hard times, I'm on your side. So yeah, no matter like what aspect of your past you have had trouble reconciling with, because I think for some of you have, whether it's just like feeling like embarrassed of your younger self or like having gone through difficult things or both or whatever, wishing you'd handle things differently, whatever it is, like your Spirit Team is saying like, we've always been on your side and we have never thought that you were embarrassing or cringy or like stupid or weird or just like that there was anything wrong with you ever, you know? Unconditional love. We'd love to see it. All right. So we have some songs. We have Hurricane Drunk by Florence and the Machine. No walls can keep me protected. No sleep. Nothing between me and the rain. And you can't save me now. I'm in the grip of a hurricane. I'm going to blow myself away. So this song is like about heartbreak and about like seeing someone that you love out and about with someone else and like really being in that pain. And I kind of feel like the message that's coming through for this one is like, for those of you who are still not quite in the sunshine yet, like you might have some storms that you're still weathering at the moment that you're waiting for the sunshine to come through. It's like, stand in the rain, baby. Like let the storm hit, let it go, blow through. And for some of you that could be like I'm feeling like for some of you like when we had the little dude with the tears, the like leaking like the black goo or whatever, like some of you like might legitimately just need to cry over some things. Some of you might need to cry like a little baby. Like that might be part of your returning to your childhood self, is letting yourself just like break down in the way that you would have as a child. And so for some of you that is going to help you in this process. And just surrender to that and let that happen. And maybe, for some of you, like, I just got the sensation of like, if you like are like, if you want to like hold yourself or hug yourself and like imagine that you're holding like your child self. Like I know that might be a little bit intense for some people, but like that might be a good way to help with this. If you feel like you really need that. Yeah. Just like give yourself like a little hug, like put your arms around yourself, like or just pretend that you're holding like a smaller version of you to your heart or whatever. Yeah. I mean, obviously for those of you who are like familiar with like inner child work, this is all about that. So if you've got your own ways of thinking about it and your own ways of dealing with it, this is saying like your spirit team is like, yes, work with your inner child. Do that. But yeah. And we also have Drinking a Song for the Socially Anxious by The Amazing Devil, which is fun. So yeah, some of you just like really need to connect with like, oh, okay, yeah. Okay, let me just read the lyrics. And in a moment of total rapture, with every strength I have, I ask if you play D&D, and your face lights up like you've woken up from this endless fucking nightmare of pretending this is you, this is us, this is me, and this is how we're meant to be. Okay, so some of you have spent time rejecting like the parts of yourself that just like want to play, have fun, be into the things that you're into, maybe not feeling like you can connect with other people on that level. I'm remembering like being like, it's the feeling of like being in a workspace, going to like a work event or party, and like just feeling like, okay, I can't talk about anything that I'm genuinely interested in with anyone here, right? And that's not to say that like there are no workspaces where you can do that, but it's like the feeling of like you have to wear a mask in your everyday life and you can't really be yourself. And whether that's like actually what you're doing, or it's like you don't necessarily wear a mask but you still feel bad about yourself because you still feel like no one else like connects with you on that level or whatever, or like in the past you felt like that, or like I said, like maybe you've suppressed a lot of the things that you find childish joy in, and you're like wanting to reconnect with that. It's like, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like accepting that, like, that there's nothing wrong with that. Like, and opening yourself up to connecting with other people on that level, if you haven't been already, can be such a healing experience. Also, like, the lyrics I put on the front are, because if God made us all in his image, then God's a fucking nerd. So, like, for those of you who, like, want to connect your... or aren't sure how to connect, like, your, like, I don't know, your, like, nerdy interest with, like, your spirituality. It's like, well, those things exist for a reason. There's, like, so much, oh my god. This reminds me of, like, look, I know that, like, as soon as I say it, people are going to want to, like, test the limits of, like, what I've just said and bring up things that sound absurd, but I'm just going to say it anyway. There is so much wisdom to be found in so many surprising places if you are just open to looking for it. If you're just willing to look for it. Like, I could read fucking Twilight and find deep spiritual meaning and connection there. And it's not to say that, like, I'm not trying to disparage it or say that, like, it's something that, like, but it's something that people see as, like, maybe not as good or, like, shallow or whatever. And, like, from a certain perspective, you can criticize it, sure. But I'm talking about just, like, from the deeper perspective, reading the thing, and it's like, what can you get from this? You have to be open to learning from anything in order to get the learning that is there for you. But it is there for you. And so it's not that you need to justify the things that you like by saying that they actually are valuable, though. You can just like what you like. But I am saying that, like, I'm the kind of person who likes to find the value in all the things, right? Like, and it's not even like I have to look for it. It's just like I'm open to it and it comes to me and I'm like, oh my god, yes. If I'm in the right mindset for something, it doesn't matter what genre of thing it is. It doesn't matter like how well written it is or whatever. If it's like the right thing for me, I will connect with it and I will find what is in it that is truly meaningful for me, right? You just got to be open to it. And there is, and this, I'm speaking about this specifically in the context of like books and movies and things that I get really nerdy about. But for you, it might not be like that exact kind of thing. It could be anything else in your life you feel this way about, where you're like, there's so much value here, but no one else sees it. Or there's like a propensity for people to judge something as shallow or critique it or whatever. But like, you have the ability to connect with those things on a deeper level, or just on a more joyful level. And like, you're allowed to do that. Not only are you allowed to do that, you're encouraged to do that. Your spirit team is like, yes, do it, go for it, right? You're ready for that. Just like, it's going to help you on this journey of like stepping into your generally more positive self, you know? And embracing the fun and the fantasy and the Yeah. Ooh, okay. Ooh, so good. So good. And then the perfect song for this kind of reading, Running with the Boys by Lights. So turn up the noise, dressed to the nines, running with the boys, your hand in mine, singing every song, loving every line, till the night is gone, just like old times. Which this song is really just like, at least I get the sense that it's about just like being a kid again and like running through the grass and playing games. I think the first lyrics are like, we were kind of feral, wicked little machines, captains and cavalries, something blah blah blah. It's like about being a kid again, about like, you know, running around like a little kid and like playing pretend and having a great time. Oh, it's perfect. Oh my gosh, guys, it's great energy. It's really great energy. And I hope for a lot of you, you're already doing this and already connecting with this, but you know, for those of you who maybe have really shut down the parts of yourself that just like find so much joy and value in like just taking joy in stuff and like the fantasy and playing pretend. Like some of you might want to get into D&D if you're not already, or like do some kind of role-playing game, or like if there's something that you've always wanted to try that just like lights up your inner child and you've been hesitating, do it. And if you already, like I said, like some of you are already doing this stuff, but you're embarrassed of it. And it's like time to move out of that part of you that feels that embarrassment and into the part of you that just fully owns who you are and what you love. Oh, ooh, and that's so powerful. That's more powerful than any like hatred, any whatever of anything could possibly be. Oh, it's so fun because it doesn't rely on anyone else's opinion, just your own experience. And it opens you up to value other people's experiences as well, and to not shut down the joy that's within you or within other people. And look, we all do that from time to time. We have our strong opinions about things, and we like and dislike things at times, but we can always embrace more of the joyful side of life. And one of the best ways to do that is really connecting with the kid in you who just loved what it loved, right? Oh, that Mary Oliver poem about like the geese or whatever is coming to me now. I think it's Mary Oliver, where it's like, all you need to do, like you don't need to like crawl on, I'm paraphrasing, but you don't need to crawl on your knees repenting. You just need to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Yeah, you just need to let yourself love what you love. Oh my God. This is great. Okay, advice. Any more advice for group 3 from your spirit team? What do you guys want to tell them? All right, those 3 jumped out together. We have embrace stillness down here, number 7, so that could be important, but I'm going to take the 3 that jumped out. Oh, okay. Speak your truth. Study to know yourself and embrace friendship. Okay. 24, 25, and 27. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so let's start with 24, speak your truth. Okay, so actually I'm going to put, yeah, we're going to look at, okay, it doesn't really matter what order they're in. We'll still look at speak your truth first, but yeah, so like I was saying, like, yeah, be yourself. Oh my God, embrace the things that really bring you joy. Speak your truth. No, but know your truth first. Okay, yeah, but that's why I put study to know. Anyway, sorry. Speak your truth. Let's just read. The truth of who we are changes until you can hear the Buddha say, "You are the very root of me," and you know that in the soul, and you know that in the soul of your soul. This is not the time to say the right thing. This is the time to say the only thing, to liberate the one true thing living in your heart that craves freedom. Do not sugarcoat or overanalyze. First, get centered and quiet to hear the truth as it lives in your core. Then speak it clearly with grace and integrity. An authentic life spoken truthfully will cost you comfort, relationships, and security, but it is worth everything. It is the soul of your soul. Okay, so like I said before about maybe disconnecting from the opinions and ideas of other people for a while and just focusing on your own self, some of you, that's going to be a big help here, and your spirit team really wants you to do that. And others of you who have already really connected with yourself, but maybe haven't quite gotten to the point of being able to express it, that's your next step in this journey. And those of you who are like already stepping into that, it's like, great job, keep going, okay? And then we have study to know yourself, which is kind of like bringing to mind what I said already about like paying attention to like what lights you up and why, and if there are things that you dislike, why, like really digging into your own reactions to things, your emotions, being curious about it, and treating it like a fun little adventure within yourself, if you can. Sometimes heavier emotions, it doesn't feel fun. It can feel difficult at first, but it's going to get more fun the more you practice being curious, right? So we have 25. Study to know yourself. The moon, asked about her luminosity, said, I know myself. You know yourself and you can shine. Oh my gosh. Okay. We set goals. We make vision boards. We study the landscape of desire to know its expanse and anticipate its fulfillment. Yet, the greatest unexplored territory is the human soul. You are an exquisite temple for a magnificent being who yearns to be known, loved, and charted. Explore the vastness of your soul's dimension. Treasure awaits. Yes, so for some of you, exploring yourself more deeply is on the horizon, and it is something that is helping you, will help you bring in more lightness, more joy in your life. Yes, oh my gosh. And then we have embrace friendship, which I think is so sweet. So like there might be people with whom you can connect with on a like childlike level and experience this joy, and it's like encouraging you to tap more into that. And also I believe saying that the more that you do tap into this with yourself, you'll not only deepen connections you might already have, but also open up to new ones. So we have embrace friendship. Most are just one wing, the other a friend needed to fly. Call upon your friends, bring them close. This is not a time to stand solitary and go about your business alone. Laugh and cry with your friends. Dream with them. Trust them with the details of your life. Okay, yeah, for some of you, it's like you might be having realizations of yourself about yourself. You might have them as you start this process. You might already have been having them. And for some of you, you might have a friend or multiple friends with whom you can actually share this. That might help you to express these things to them. So if you have a trusted friend, companion in your life where you can open up to them about this, you might not be used to opening up. So it might be a little awkward for you at first, but it's you're being encouraged to do so. Because if you know you have someone you can trust in your life, then you know. And it's just about trusting yourself to be able to open up about it. And also being able to trust yourself, like opening up about yourself, that even if the people that you open up to don't respond in a way that is initially like the most comforting, I'm not talking about like full rejection, but I'm talking about like people will have their own like thoughts at first that may or may not coalesce with like your thoughts, and you also might be sensitive about some of these things. So like also being honest about like, hey, this is a difficult thing for me to share, but I just want to share it. Or just being open to the idea that like you might have some sensitivities around these things, so people's reactions might hurt more than they need to if they're not fully aligned with like what you expect, even if their reaction isn't actually negative. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't push forward and keep sharing, right? It'll get easier as you do. So send little love notes of gratitude and appreciation. And remember that friendship comes in all forms and in all dimensions. Old books, favorite songs, a snuggly blanket, the moon in your window, your four-footed companion all have the power to befriend. Embrace and celebrate them all. Yeah, so for some of you, you are like you are in the process of like revisiting things from childhood that you loved and reconnecting with those old friends, those old stories, those old books, those old toys even that you were connected with in one way or another. Yeah, and that's bringing you closer to this sunshiny energy, this new phase of life. Okay, so we're gonna end it there. Okay, no, one more card. This one kept drawing my eye. We have this 2 halves of a heart. And this says, you have to learn when to care and when to let go. You'll grow calluses. So this is from Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. And it just kept sticking out to me. It almost popped out a few times. So the last message here is just for some of you, like things from your childhood that maybe you lost touch with, or maybe like losses or things that you went through in your childhood that were difficult. It's like through that you've learned and maybe are still learning, in the process of learning, how to let go of things. Like even when you're a kid, like if you lose like a toy that you love, it can feel so deeply devastating, right? And you can carry that loss with you for a long time. And so if there's anything like that that needs to be processed from your childhood, it's like you're ready to do that. And help it, like, because even like no matter whether it's like a loss of a person or a loss of a thing that you're deeply connected to, it's like being afraid of loss in the future can stop you from taking the opportunities that you could have to connect with new things, to connect with new potential things that you love and people that you love, right? And so for some of you, it's about really embracing the idea of like when to care and when to try to hold on to something or someone, and then when to let go. And, you know, yeah, that's significant for someone. I don't know. Yeah. But that's all I got for that. So if that's for you, you'll know. And yeah, it's just about, you know, processing any old losses that you might have gone through and taking into the future with you the wisdom of being able to discern when something is ready to leave your life or just simply is not your responsibility to hold on to, and when something is, you know, worth pursuing, looking for recovery. Yeah. Okay, so all that said, thank you for listening, and I hope you got something significant out of that. And please like, comment, or subscribe if you would like. And also, if you're interested, my mom and I do have a business. I will put the link in the description, sunflowerphilosophy.com. We do hypnosis. We offer tarot one-on-one guidance sessions virtually, but also we offer recorded tarot sessions. And then we have, my mom does human design readings. So put that link in the description. And in any case, I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in another reading again sometime soon. Bye. Hi, Group 4. Welcome to Sunflower Philosophy Tarot. Today's reading is a message from your spirit team, with this, which can honestly just be like your spirit guides, your angels, like whatever deities you connect with, your higher self, just whatever like wants to come through, whatever you feel most connected to. It's meant to just be some message, whatever they want to talk about, whatever they want to bring to your attention at this time. Yeah, it could be anything. And my intention is just that it comes from like the highest, most loving place for the best. So yeah, that's what we're doing here. And also, of course, if you don't necessarily connect with anything like that specifically, you could still get something from this. And it also could encourage you, if you do want to, if you're interested in connecting more with like a spirit team or anything, then, you know, take this as a sign to do so if that's something you want in your life. So anyway, let's just get into it. So yeah, if you picked this green stone, by the way, you're in the right place. So I am going to first start by looking at this tarot card, which I have used for each group to just give me an idea of like what topic they want to talk about. And I get some messages from that, but then I'm going to mostly focus on using my quote cards and song cards because that's fun and that's actually been going pretty well so far. And then I'll get some advice cards at the end. And also, I've kind of assigned each suit a topic area, so I actually forget which your card is, which is exciting because I get to go in cold and just kind of like figure it out along the way. So let's see what your spirit team wants to talk to you about. Yes, okay. We have the 5 of Strength, which in this deck is the 5 of Wands, and I've kind of associated this suit loosely with the idea of just like your spiritual journey. So there's something here that they want to bring up to you regarding your spirituality itself. And perhaps maybe we'll see if other messages and other things come through along the way. One thing that's been really great is that I feel like the reading has, for each of them, really evolved throughout. So, yeah, so if you want to, stick around if this is resonating, even if it's not resonating right away, it might start to later. So let's yeah, let's get into it. So first, I'm actually going to read the little blurb from the booklet about this card. It says, being focused totally on being in the moment to work together effectively, letting go of competition. Okay. So this could actually be in any area of your life if that resonates for you with any area. If we're talking like specifically a spiritual focus, for some of you, you might have a feeling of like, if you are already a very spiritually minded person who is exploring that actively in your life, it could be reminding you that your journey is not a competition, that it's not something that you're competing with anyone around you or yourself. That's the thing that's coming up, is you're not competing with yourself. So I'm getting the feeling of like, you know, when you have like some kind of like breakthrough, right? Where you feel like you've overcome something, or you've understood something, or something's clicked into place, or you have like a really wonderful, like sort of mystical kind of experience that you feel like catapults you to another like level of understanding or growth or whatever, however you experience that for yourself. There can be a desire to continually chase that experience or that feeling, and feel like if you're not constantly experiencing those kinds of breakthroughs, that you're like failing or you're not quite doing something right. And this is saying that that's not the case at all, and that's not what the journey is about, right? Like those things along your journey happen, but they're the result of like the process, right, that you go through step by step. And it's just that sometimes it comes out in like a sudden big change, but more often than not, it's about the day-to-day, everyday practice. And also, if there is something here about like feeling competitive with other people, or like constantly comparing yourself to other people and other people's journeys, it's saying like to get out of that mindset of like a win-lose situation or a competition. It's like working together. It's like I'm getting something about like being able to take in a lot of different perspectives and a lot of people's different practices, and take what works for you from them, and then leave whatever doesn't. And don't think of it as like that you're ever like really doing better than anyone else or doing worse than anyone else, but you're just simply on your own journey, which is for you alone, and not for you to have to compare to anyone else. Okay, for some of you, this might not be for all of you, but also even if it is, like, this is not a dig or a drag or anything. Like, this is totally fine and normal. But for some of you, if you feel like you've been getting a little too into maybe like ego around spirituality, this is reminding you to pull back. Some ways that shows up is just feeling like you're like better than everyone else. It's like you don't have to break the world into like better people and worse people. It's more about removing yourself fully from that dichotomy and like seeing things from a higher perspective when you can, right? And so it's like you can give yourself your due, right? You can give yourself the credit that you deserve for how far you've come, and you can be proud of yourself and really be enjoying the progress that you've made in your life and your personal growth journey and whatever you're proud of. You can emphasize those areas of your life without it like needing to tear anyone else down or compare yourself to anyone else. And like we all do this from time to time. It's not a big deal, but it just might be a reminder from your spirit team if that's a mindset you've been finding yourself in. But whether or not that's where you've been at right now, it's a good message for all of us, right? But with that, I do want to get into the quote cards already, because I feel like there's some more that we can dig into here that we have not even scratched the surface of yet. So let's get some more information about messages that your spirit team has for you. So I'm just going to shuffle these up a bit, because I do feel like for this group especially, I feel like there's still more to what they want to say that's not quite fully represented by the card. So let's see, group 4's spirit team, what do you want? Interesting, okay. What do you want to say to group 4? I'll give that one more shuffle. Okay. And then I have I have so many quote cards, guys, so just bear with me. I just want to give you the chance to have all of them potentially at your disposal here. Pile 4, group 4, spirit team. What do you want them to know? What messages do you have for them? Oh, okay, that's enough. We're gonna end that there. Okay. So let's see what came out first. Okay, we're gonna start with this one. Okay, so this one might be full of a lot more mixed messages, not like, but like, yeah, this might be a little bit less focused than some of the other piles so far, but we'll see. So first thing we have is this card here. Ooh, okay. So before I even get into the message on the back, the imagery here, you can see it's like an anguished face behind an angry face. Yeah. So this is like recognizing the layers of emotions that we can experience, how often like anger, for example, is masking another emotion. Like you might get angry because as a secondary response to something making you sad, right? Like, so that might be something really important for you guys to recognize right now, maybe about your own emotional state or experience, or also about the emotional states and experiences of people around you. And the quote on the back says, "Self-hatred is an expensive hobby paid for by other people," from Mr. Impossible by Maggie Stiefvater. And yeah, okay. So I don't know if this is referencing your own personal feelings about yourself or your own experiences or the experience of someone around you potentially. Maybe for some of you, you are dealing with people in your life who are struggling with self-hatred and feel like you're being, I was getting the words like dragged down a bit by it. Like, it's an expensive hobby paid for by other people. It's like, sometimes when you feel that amount of like hatred towards yourself, it comes out in a way that impacts the people around you negatively, right? And there's higher perspectives we can look at that experience from. And I feel like a lot of us have been there in various different ways. So for some of you, this could be something that you have gone through yourself and might be at the moment. And for those of you who are dealing with that within yourself, more so than anything else, there is something here about, not judging yourself for that, but also being able to face that and admit it, right? So like, okay. So something I was getting with the 5 of Strength, right, is like the idea of like competition, of maybe sometimes needing to feel better than other people in order to feel better about yourself. And so whether this is for you directly or for the people around you, I think we can all use this reminder at different times, but it's reminding you that you don't need to boost yourself up or like lie about your own mental state. Ooh, okay. You don't need to lie about your mental state, your internal emotional state to yourself or to other people, just to seem like a better person than you are, which is like not to say that you're a bad person, you're not. But that's the thing, is like, I'm feeling like for some of you, there's this feeling like you need to mask the quote unquote ugly parts of yourself. There are parts of yourself that you maybe don't accept. And so you shove them down, you put a mask over them, you don't let them out, you don't let them be seen, and you don't accept them in yourself, but they're still there. And so through still being there, they come out in ways that you can't necessarily control. And that is part of the human experience. For most of us, we go through things like that at various times in our life, you know? It can be hard to, some of you might, in your spiritual journey, be having trouble looking at certain parts of yourself that are trying to make themselves known because you're ashamed of them and you think that they make you a bad person, and you feel like if you want to grow spiritually, you can't be that kind of person. Like, you can't have that aspect of yourself. Like, okay, let me use a specific example. Like, if you're experiencing jealousy, right? But you're like, oh, jealousy is bad. Jealousy, if I experience jealousy, I'm a bad person, right? that means that there's something wrong with me and I shouldn't feel that way. So I'm going to push that down. And you could do that even not like consciously. Sometimes you do it consciously, but sometimes you don't do it even consciously. You just like deny that exists in yourself at all. But you're still behaving from that aspect of yourself. And so for you, maybe there's some things that are coming up where you're like starting to like consciously recognize elements of yourself that you didn't recognize before, where you've been controlled by emotions that you've suppressed, and you're feeling a little called out by it. You're feeling a little bad about it, and your spirit team is here by being like here to say like, you got to look at it, right? It's here for a reason, and it does not make you a bad person. But also, I want to keep going because I think there's a lot more messages in here that will be really helpful for you if any of that resonates. Another thing, though, I wanted to also say is like, if you're dealing with people in your life who are struggling with this, and you know you could be struggling with it as much as anyone else around you, right? It's also reminding you that this can be where other people are coming from too. And so when they're showing sides of themselves that are maybe like making things difficult for you or coming out in ways that are like sometimes you can sense the suppression in other people and you know that they're like suppressing themselves, but you feel like almost like sometimes like people aren't fully expressing their emotions to you, that maybe they're lying to you, because you can sense, if you're very intuitive and very emotionally tapped in, you can sense like underneath like maybe their apathy or their anger or their whatever is something else. And if you try to directly address that, they deny it, or you just feel like you can't even bring it up to them. But it's a reminder that sometimes people aren't like consciously lying to you. It's like they don't even know that part of themselves exists yet. And so it's not to say that you can't be frustrated by it or that you can't like set boundaries or bring it up, but it's saying that like if someone else isn't acknowledging that part of themselves, they might not even know it's there. And while interacting with you might bring that to their, consciousness, at the same time, it's not your responsibility to deal with that for them. And it's also like, if it's not time for them to realize that, it's not time, but they will eventually. And it's also to remember that you've likely gone through the same thing with yourself, right? And so do what you need to do to take care of yourself if you're dealing with people in that situation, but also like you don't have to take it personally, and it doesn't say anything about you as a person. It can be frustrating for sure, but it's not your responsibility to like deal with other people's unresolved stuff for them as much as you might wish that you could, right? And in fact, sometimes when you're too preoccupied with someone else's stuff, you're avoiding your own stuff, right? And it's like, by looking at your own stuff, it's like if you see the universe as like a mirror, if that's something that resonates to you, where you feel like everything around you mirrors back to you, it's like that's mirroring back to you something about what's within you that's not been addressed yet. And again, we come back to that message of not being hard on yourself about that, and stop it, and not thinking of it as a competition where you're like trying to one up another person. You're trying to like, well, I'm better than them, so like I don't have things to address, but they do. It's like, no. It's like pulling back into yourself and being like, we all have things we still need to address within ourselves, and it doesn't make us a bad person. I'm not a bad person. They're not a bad person. It's not even about that. It's not about being a bad person or a good person. It's about, making the progress in life that you want to make to live the best possible version of your life that you can. Right? Okay, cool. So the next card we have is this one, which came out in one of the other piles actually. And it says, we know that from time to time there arise among human beings people who seem to exude love as naturally as the sun gives out heat. From Alan Watts. So, it's like almost like the opposite of like this energy. This is like self-hatred, how that like resonates out to the people around you. And this is like how love resonates out to the people around you. Like exuding hatred of yourself can come out as hatred of other people. Whereas like if you're exuding love of yourself, it comes out as love to other people, right? And so it's two sides of the same coin. And you might be struggling to find balance there right now. But it's saying that just as much as you might have the potential to have some internal hatred, right? To have some self-hatred, you have that much potential to have self-love. And you bring both this is your more natural state, the loving state, and that's just what you're uncovering by acknowledging the areas where you've had the opposite, which again is not actually a bad thing. It's just a human experience that we're all going through, and we're all learning through that process, right? It's like, I'm speaking to you from my own experience as well in parts of this. A lot of the stuff that comes up I don't necessarily consciously think of, but I have my own experiences with this as well. And it's like getting to that place of self-acceptance where you're not feeling like you have to push down parts of yourself because you feel like there's anything wrong with them. It's like accepting the beauty and the duality and all the nuances of human experience and being fascinated by them and curious about them and being playful even when you can. If you can embrace the playful nature of like, ooh, like, oh, what is this like feeling that's coming up inside me? It's not pleasant, but like, oh, and also, the idea that if all of a sudden you're like starting to get realizations about like maybe some fears, hatreds, like insecurities that you, maybe even if you've noticed them before, but like it's coming back around, you're dealing with it again. It's coming up being really intense. If you can see those moments as not times where you're failing at anything, like you're actually succeeding, all right? If you're getting intense emotions and fears coming up, it's because they were already there and they're coming up so intensely because they're ready to be addressed and to be let go of on another level. And that is just leveling you up. So if you see that as like a leveling up opportunity, that turns everything around for you because you can be like, okay, I might be uncomfortable in this moment. Like, it might not be like super fun to go through the whole process of leveling up, but when you stop resisting it and treating it as something that's a bad sign and instead see it as an opportunity and a good sign, and it frees you up to, first of all, take more steps to help yourself become more comfortable throughout the process. But it also gives you a whole new, more positive outlook on like, oh, this is just giving me an opportunity to love myself deeper, to love other people more, to remove like any of the old poison sitting around that's just not serving me anymore, right? And so that helps you lighten up about the whole experience. So let's keep going. We have this one with There Really Were No Chains Like the Ones in Your Head from A Seditious Affair by K.J. Charles. Man, if you guys ever like look into and read any of the books that these are from, just a warning about that one. It is a romance novel and it does deal with some. I would look up like content warnings if you were ever going to check that out. Just they have them on the author's website. It's like I would do that especially if you have any content you might be sensitive about. But anyway, the point is in this context that it's coming up in. It's reiterating the idea of like, oh yeah, and then we have like I put it right under the self-hatred one. Yeah, so it's like, you might have a lot of mental fears that are coming up right now that are just there, revealing themselves to you as just mental blocks that are not real, not actually true, and are being revealed because you are leveling up, right? Because you are like 5. We have the 5 of Wands here. 5 is change. So you're like ready for a change, or you're going through a change, and like you're realizing what chains were just in your head that you're now ready to let go of, and you are being encouraged by your spirit team, excuse me, to accept those parts of yourself that you might have once rejected and be like, yeah, you know what? At times in my life, I have gotten jealous, and sometimes I do feel that, and it's just an emotion that happens, and I don't have to push it down or deny it. I also don't have to act on it in a way that I'll regret, but also like I'm human, and it happens. And like, I don't know, I just got the thought of like, when you're reading a book, do you love a character that has like no flaws and like no internal struggle and like intrigue, or do you love a character that like goes through some shit and like grows from it and comes out the other side and has like some nuance and like a rich inner life and interesting story, right? I mean, I don't know, maybe you don't love that, but like that's one way for me at least that I learned self-acceptance for me is like thinking about all the stories and the characters I love and like recognizing that like I often love a character who does all different kinds of things and like learns and grows through those things that maybe aren't good. Like they're not doing things, like they don't always act out of kindness. They don't always act out of in the best way, but they learn through it, right? You know, I like that. And I love a nuanced character, and a character who I can see how both their internal and external landscapes impact their life and their actions. And I see them on as a multifaceted, multidimensional being, even though they're fictional, but like you are a multifaceted and multidimensional being existing in life, and like embrace that, right? It's time to embrace that. The layers of you. So next we have this one. And yeah, this is okay. So I feel like with the black and the white, it's like seeing how both sides, the loving side and the side that like maybe you're rejecting in yourself, how they fit together and form like a beautiful, loving picture. So yeah, you're being called to embrace all sides of yourself. And this says, you can't protect the ones you love. You have to hope they're smart enough to save themselves. And this is from Bone Gap by Laura Ruby. And now, I do believe in the original context of the quote, it's not necessarily that's not necessarily the point of the story. And the character who says it isn't necessarily doing right by others by saying this. Like, they're someone who I believe has walked away from people that they love. And I think in the story there is something that's more about being there for people, not giving up on people, whatnot. But also there's like nuance in it, because it's like also a story that understands why people walk away from situations, from people. And so I think that this is calling on you to, especially if you are someone who's dealing with other people around you who are dealing with self-hatred and dealing with other things that maybe you felt like you need to take care of them or whatnot. It's reminding you that it's not your responsibility to protect or save anyone else. That anything that you do from the purest of intentions, the goodness of your heart, it's not saying that it's like wrong to do that, to want to protect people or to try or to help people. Like, that's good too. But I think it's drawing attention to the nuance of life and the idea that you won't always be able to help people and protect people in the way that you want to. And that's okay, right? And so for some of you, maybe some of the pressure that you've been putting on yourself or some of the things you've been suppressing have been like ways where you feel like you failed other people or fears that you will fail other people. Maybe you are doing the thing, like I mentioned before, where you focus on other people's struggles too much and not enough on your own internal self, right? And so like you externalize like the love that you're trying to give to other people, the protection that you're trying to give to other people, the acceptance that you're trying to give to other people, whether or not they'll accept it or not, is what you need to actually be giving yourself. And again, like it's not saying don't do, things for other people, don't protect other people. It's not saying that, but it's saying like your first responsibility is to yourself and your own journey. And through focusing on that, a lot of you will find your way to protect and help and nurture others around you in a more profound and more beneficial way than even before, through not ignoring yourself and putting your focus back on yourself and where you need to accept yourself and protect yourself and love yourself, and trusting that people around you are on their own journeys and are where they're meant to be, and they're also, give them a chance, trust others, learn to trust yourself to be there for yourself, and learn to trust others that they are on their own journey to being there for themselves as well, right? Like, so take yourself off the hook for other people's problems. Like, again, you can be there for other people, but not at the expense of yourself and your own journey. And anytime you're externalizing that love and externalizing that support at the expense of yourself, it's because you are trying to give someone else what you actually need. And you need to create that within yourself so then you can come back and share with everyone else something that you already have, right? So let's get to the next one. So we have suffer for fun. And it says, man suffers only because he takes seriously what the gods made for fun. Alan Watts. Yeah, so if this is like about your spiritual journey, like I said, your spirit guides are, well, with this quote actually, your spirit guides are encouraging you to lighten up about your spiritual journey. So whether you've been on a conscious spiritual journey or it's just like in life, you know, because like life is spiritual if you accept that notion. Like it doesn't matter if you're like, you know, doing yoga every day and like consciously doing whatever and participating in like, I don't know, some new age ideology or other. It doesn't matter if you're doing that, which is also fine, or if you're like not really doing that or you're not like aligned with any specific practices. It's more like whatever your version of like your growth and your connection to like life and the greater out there is for you. And I think for a lot of you, yeah, there's something around needing to take it more lightly, like take it less seriously, like put less pressure on yourself, make it more of a fun adventure, find the part of you, which is your soul part of you, that doesn't feel the need to like, yeah, one up yourself or one up anyone else or like achieve. It's not about that. It's about like living, experiencing, and feeling more connected in general. And like, it's saying like connect to the soul part of you that experiences this life as like a game, as like a really fun adventure, as like from a high, like I've heard people talk about this life as if it's like a video game kind of. And so for some of you, it might resonate to like approach life more from that perspective, more lighthearted and fun. Like when I say that too, though, there's something that gets like I've heard. I don't know where it came from. I've heard some people liking to refer to other people as like NPCs and things like that, and saying like that there's some, you know, taking things like lightly, but in a way where it's like actively disregarding other people around them and like putting them down. And it's like, no, that's not what we're talking about here. Obviously, it's not about like, again, like anything that like feeds your ego by making you feel like you're better than other people. It's not about that, but it's about like treating this life like a fun game that you're taking in a lighthearted fashion, that you're experiencing joy from and curiosity and interest. And like when you meet with quote unquote setbacks, again, like think of it as like an opportunity to level up, right? You're taking on this challenge, perhaps if you perceive it as such, as part of the game, and it's for you to find a creative way to move through it, to work through it, right? And that's part of the game, and it can be fun and exciting rather than like a feeling of like dread or like heaviness or like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. Like there's no such thing as doing anything wrong here. It's like, ooh, there's infinite possibilities of how you can approach this. How are you going to approach it, right? Like have fun with it. So next we have this one with, I don't think I knew I was lonely until I met you. People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. So yeah, maybe some of you are feeling a little bit lonely. And the feeling, setting yourself apart from other people, whether by putting yourself down or boosting yourself up in like an egoic way, which again, we all do. So I swear, if anyone out there is like feeling a little hurt by this, like it's not, oh, I'm only talking about it because I know like the feeling. We all do from time to time. And it's like just one small part of you. It's not all of you. It's just like an element of our characters that we're playing, right? I guess. Yeah, I guess I'm just going with this game analogy, which may or may not be like real depending on what kind of spiritual beliefs you hold. But like anyway, I don't think knew I was lonely until I met you. Yeah. So maybe for some of you, you've been feeling lonely. Your spirit team is encouraging you to connect more with them, to reach out to them, and reminding you that that if you're feeling lonely, you're often feeling disconnected from yourself, from your true self. And remember, we have like that person wearing that mask there. And so like, yeah, if you start acknowledging your own emotional experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as they truly are, and you start to connect more deeply with yourself, that is how you start to feel less lonely. And also, seeing within yourself and within other people the similarities of like the way that you experience emotions, and seeing like that the rage and hatred, and also the joy and the wonder and the pain and the fear and the sadness and the jubilation that you have in you is also in other people, and vice versa. And underneath like the surface level of how people express those things, those are all the same energies. And a lot of the times, even people who seemingly have opposing views in like a certain matter, they're kind of coming from the same energy, and they're at the base level, they might disagree with one another, but they really are looking for the same exact thing. And so seeing that played out in the broader perspective of reality, whether it's like your immediate reality or in the greater reality, online, in the world, whatever, that you see played out on a larger scale, that can help you feel less alone, because you start to understand that we're all seeking the same thing, we're all coming here for the same thing, and we just have different ways of going about it and different experiences and different ways of expressing ourselves, right? And yeah, it's like feeling more connected to the bigger picture of things through zooming out and being able to see that, even if you do have certain beliefs and things that are very important to you and that you're very connected to. It's like being able to zoom out and see how other people who seemingly have different opposing views are, they're trying to approach the same thing from a different perspective, right? In a lot of cases. So that's an interesting one that came from that. I've never gotten that message specifically from this card, but I like that. And then we have another one from Emily Henry, People We Meet on Vacation. So that's fun. And it says, it hurts to want it all, so many things that can't coexist within the same life. Okay, yeah. So maybe some of you like feel a little overwhelmed by your journey, and you feel like you're not where you want to be because there's so many things that you want to see happen in your life that just haven't happened yet, and you feel like you're not doing your best because if you were, these things would already be there. And this is your spirit team reminding you that you don't want everything that you possibly want all at the same time, because that would be a really overwhelming experience for you, and that they and your higher self and like elements of the greater universe know like how to bring things in the perfect time. So things not happening right away, or not happening in a certain time frame, or not happening like all at once is not a sign of something wrong. And in fact, often it's the opposite. And it's just being able to accept where you're at every moment that will allow the things to come in when they're meant to, and trusting that you're going to be in a better position to receive those things when they come in, right? So not focusing on the timing, not focusing on the idea of like, oh, well, if I want this, then how can I also have that? Like how things are going to happen and how things are going to fit together, and putting limitations on like, well, if I want this, I can't have that. And if I want that, I can't have this. And not using your mind too much to try to figure things out. Rather, let the universe figure it out and let it come to you, and be ready and open-minded to how it does, because it'll all fit together in a way that maybe you couldn't have even imagined, right? And so that's to anyone who feels like they want to force things that just haven't been happening, and they are feeling a little impatient with themselves and maybe with the spirit, universe, whatever the fuck, like, wow, I've been swearing a lot in this one. Yeah, so this is saying like, the spirit team is reminding you that you don't need to don't put those limitations on yourself. Don't think about what you don't have and see it as like your reality, or see it as a personal failure. It's like, no. Also, for some of you, you might not be seeing how like things that you once wanted are already yours. Whether those are physical things, or whether those are things like more immaterial things like mental states, or like ways of being that you once found impossible, but now it's just your day-to-day. It's like reminding you to look at how far you've come, the progress you've made, and look at the things that once felt impossible to you and how they're just regular parts of your life, and realize that like one day all the things that you want will also be that, and taking heart in that too, because it's not all about desire and just wanting things. It's about making the most of each moment and learning how to do that and to settle more into who you truly are, no matter what's going on around you, right? Removing yourself, like some of you are maybe in a space where you're a bit caught up in the external world around you, comparing yourself to other people and where they're at and what they're doing, and you need to just return to within yourself. And maybe you've been avoiding that because there's some painful things going on in there, and Spirit is saying, like, your guides are saying, hey, look, we're right here with you. We're right here with you. You're gonna be safe. You can look at it's safe to look at yourself, right? And to focus on yourself and to turn within and look at those things that scare you, right? And you can call on them to be there with you and help you go through that process, you know? If that's something that you connect with or you want to connect with, like just ask, literally just ask. And if that's not something, like if you don't really feel like you have a spirit team, like, or you don't really know if you believe in that, like, that's fine. You can, do this in any way that you want. But also, like, if you're open to that idea, you might as well just, like, try it out. So, I think a lot of people, your spirit teams are saying, like, it's time to stop comparing yourself to other people and paying attention to what other people are doing and pay attention to yourself. And they really want the best for you, your spirit team. And I feel like some of you might be tempted to be really hard on yourself about this. Some of you might just reject this out of hand and not want to listen to it at all. But some of you might just feel really bad about being in this state and, like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, we all are there from time to time, and it's not going to take much for you to get out of it. I can feel that. You are, you're doing fine. This is all part of the process, right? This is all part of the process. Yeah, this card wants to come out. I'm getting song lyrics, by the way. Okay, and anything else? Spirit team, well, that's too many. Anything else? Okay, we'll take that one. Okay. Okay. So, all right, this one came out first, and this one was the one that was most insistent. So we have Amy, aka Spent Gladiator 1 by the Mountain Goats. Okay, so my iPhone storage ran out, so I don't know where I cut off, but I'm just going to read the lyrics again and then get into it. So, Amy, aka Spent Gladiator 1 by the Mountain Goats. Do every stupid thing that makes you feel alive. Do every stupid thing to try and drive the dark away. Let people call you crazy for the choices that you make. Find limits, pass the limits, jump in front of trains all day, and stay alive. Just stay alive. So yeah, this is encouraging you to not focus on getting anywhere specific, but just focus on feeling alive in each moment. Focus on what makes you feel alive. Focus on the moment-to-moment daily life rather than trying to get to some kind of destination, trying to get somewhere, achieve something, whatever. Yeah. And with that, we have Counting Blue Cars by Dishwalla. Tell me all your thoughts on God, because I'd really like to meet her and ask her why we're who we are. So yeah, for some of you, maybe that's like talking to your spirit guides more, asking them questions, asking questions of yourself that you've never asked before, getting more in touch with like your conception of like spirit or God or whatever in the present moment, without like trying to put any pressure on like how that shows up for you, but rather being open to however that kind of entity or those entities want to assert themselves to you, and getting really quiet first so you can listen. Like if a song comes into your head and you're like, where did that come from? Or like if you see certain repeating numbers, like of course synchronicities and things like that as well. Using your own like tarot cards or forms of divination to connect more with your spirit team, yourself, whatever. Yeah, like all that can be helpful to you. And also like the song Counting Blue Cars to me feels like kids walking together on a summer afternoon, like asking questions of like their parents, or asking big questions about like the universe that no one really like can give them a solid answer on, but being curious anyway, and also like, you know, counting all the blue cars that pass by. Maybe you'll get a lot of blue cars as like your signs or things like that. Yeah, asking for signs, being playful. Also, I'm sorry if you can hear like someone is mowing their lawn in the background. Whatever. We're just gonna let it be. Just like you're gonna let yourself be, right? We have Everywhere by Michelle Branch. And this says, "'Cause you're everywhere to me, and when I close my eyes, it's you I see. You're everything I know that makes me believe I'm not alone." Yeah, so this is like, yeah, getting like connected with yourself and your spirit team and like the universe and like feeling less alone. And this is them also saying that they're everywhere. They're always with you and they can never leave you. So like, even when you feel alone, even when you feel like you're dealing with stuff by yourself, you're not. They are on your side and they're with you. And I am... Ooh, okay, one more thing. I just was drawn to this card on the top of the deck, Just Watch the Fireworks by Jimmy Eat World. Yeah, this says, "Here you can be anything that scares you. I think that scares you. Here, I've been here before, but only by myself. I promised I'd see it again. I promised I'd see this with you now." But I really am drawn to like, just watch the fireworks as like, yeah, just enjoy life. Just focus on the things that make you feel alive. Just focus on the moment. Just be. Let yourself be. You are enough. There's no striving that needs to be happening. Just be with yourself. Be with the people in your life that you love. Be with your, you know, your version of God, spirit, angels, whatever. Just be, you know? So we're going to get any final advice from the Hafiz cards over here. Ooh, and then we'll close it up. Let me just shuffle them up a little bit. Please let my storage not run out again. Sometimes with these longer readings, it can be like a little bit of a nightmare to get them all recorded and uploaded and stuff, but one day I'll get better equipment. Okay. This one wanted to pop out before, so we're going to take it. Okay. And this, interesting. Okay, and then on the bottom we have Engage Trust. Yeah, Engage Trust, I think just simply like trust the universe, trust yourself, trust your guides, whatnot. So, let's see, we have 34 with Take the Opportunity, 2 with Protect Your Boundaries, 35, 35, with Risk and Dare, and 25 with Study to Know Yourself. Oh yeah, you can't see those. Hold on, let me move them up. Yeah, the only problem with like using these quote cards is that there's not a lot of space, so we have to cover stuff up. It's fine. You can do. All right. So we have 34, Take the Opportunity. So for some of you, there might be some kind of opportunity or something. Oh, forgot this one. Okay, Hafiz with your suggestive poetry, but let's read it. All right, so every moment the earth's amorous body says, "Make love to me," and the sky says that too. So maybe some of you need to go like get out in nature and connect with it. Maybe not in this way, but like, you know. Gosh, what are we waiting for? Opportunity comes knocking. Your job is to open the door and discover the adventure that awaits beyond it. The sun and sky seek your yes, and the world will change because of the risks you take. You are a creator, and you came here to explore the possibilities. Even if it doesn't turn out exactly as planned, this is a game-changing moment. Seize it. Yeah, so while you're out there living in the moment, letting yourself just be, take opportunities that come towards you, but don't feel like you need them to be about proving anything to yourself or proving anything to anyone else. They're just there for you to experience and to see what happens. And who knows, it's going to be exciting and cool, and take some risks because you're being more playful about things, rather than feeling like there's stakes at hand. So Risk and Dare. The first time a young eagle tried to fly, it fell on its butt, but knew it had within itself to look out upon this world from the sky and know how immaculate all really is, and then nearly fainted in awe and thanks. Yeah, so like if you are someone who's really hard on yourself and feels like you've been messing up or have taken a step back in your journey, you're not, and everything is perfect and wonderful the way it is, and you're meant to have all these different kinds of experiences, whether you enjoy every moment of them or not. It's not going to be comfortable and it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be marvelous. Growth requires the risk and daring to go beyond your own certainty. Now is the time to leap and build your wings on the way down. Yeah. So like being like too competitive in your mindset can make you risk averse at times because you feel like there's so much at stake. But if you're just enjoying and going with the flow and the process, you will take more opportunities because you don't feel as heavy about them. Like you've got nothing to prove. And your team wants you to know you've got nothing to prove. So 2, protect your boundaries. What bird does not protect their wings, knowing the beautiful, vital taste of freedom? Your boundaries are part of life's birthright, but they must be carefully cultivated and consciously guarded. Just as an ungated garden is open to predators, so too is our energy when it lacks a strong container. Be watchful, be generous with your energy, but equally generous to your own life force. So yeah, this is like to anyone who might be dealing with like other people's energies in your life, and like I said, maybe you're putting all your focus on their energies when you need to be focusing on yourself. You create that container within yourself. Then you can share from your energy, whatever you want. But you've got to make sure you've got that first, right? Yeah, so for some of you, you need to set some energetic boundaries. However you do that, whatever your unique situation calls for, you will know. And you can figure that out as well as you go. And then we also have 25, study to know yourself. So the moon, asked about her luminosity, said, I know myself. We set goals, we make vision boards. We study the landscape of desire to know its expanse and anticipate its fulfillment. Yet the greatest unexplored territory is the human soul. You are an exquisite temple for a magnificent being who yearns to be known, loved, charted. Explore the vastness of your soul's dimension. Treasure awaits. Yes. So rather than like thinking of like your life as being about like pursuits external to you, think about it as it being a pursuit of finding yourself and knowing yourself. And that journey will not be as linear as like, okay, like I go to school, I graduate a good college, I get a job, I retire, I get married, I have a family, I retire, I die, right? It's like that might actually be like what a lot of your life looks like, but there's also the internal journey that you're going through when you're going through all of that or whatever else your life looks like, right? So it's not all about the external journey, it's about the internal journey as well. And so it's important for you to treat that as just as important, if not more important, than the external in your world to a certain extent. At least at this moment in your life, that's what you're being asked to do, is go within, explore yourself, and treat that as an important part of your life, right? That it's not all about the external achievement. And maybe for some of you, you've been more focused on that external achievement for a while, and maybe you've even done really well for yourself from an external perspective, but like there's a part of you that is not fulfilled by it, and that's because you haven't gotten to know yourself yet. There's parts of you that are just not integrated, that are not being recognized, that are not being explored, that are knocking on the door being like, hey, what about us? What about us? You know? So it's like time to look into that. And your spirit team is here to help you do it if you are open to that. So yeah. But this was a lovely reading, and I do hope that you got something from it. And I really think that it's important to be said that your spirit team is very proud of you, even if you don't feel proud of yourself right now, because I feel like a lot of you might not, because when we're in these energies, we can be tempted to judge ourselves for it, but it's actually just part of the journey, and you're exactly where you need to be, and you're doing great. So I hope that is all encouraging for you, and if you would like, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. And if you're interested, my mom and I do have a website, sunflowerphilosophy.com. We offer hypnosis services. We do offer tarot guidance sessions or recorded tarot readings. And also my mom does human design. So if you're interested, that link will be in the description. And yeah, that's all for today. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in another reading sometime very soon. Bye.